School Board, School Administrative Unit Number 12, Londonderry School District. Please rise. Mr. Iarocco, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm just looking at what we've got here. Andy, first person I got up is Andy, but I don't see Andy Susi, so
Mr. Chairman, I move the consent agenda.
all righty, here we go. And before I take a second on that, we do have one retirement this evening, and that is the young Ms. Claire Ball from our food service, and she's been at the food service for 27 years. She also happens to be our district's most senior employee at a whopping 81 years young. We certainly appreciate her time and the service to all of our students here in Londonderry. So Claire, we wish you all the best in your retirement and whatever else you may be doing. So I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of moving the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Just to recap, our next meetings are August 12th, 7 p.m. Then we start our building tours on the 25th of August with North School, Londonderry Middle School, Londonderry High School. 26th, the regular meeting, and August 27th, complete the building tours with Matthew Thornton, Moose Hill, and the South School. And Nate, I should have asked this a second ago before we moved on, but a few weeks ago, 5, 6 weeks ago, we had a joint session that I wasn't able to be at, and you were going to start working with Dave.
Yes.
Did you guys start?
Yes, we have.
Great. And what were some of the areas you get?
Well, we're looking at a number of the areas that were brought up. We're looking at facilities, IT,
Great.
access center.
Okay, but I mean, I guess my point is we started moving that along. We're in
had
good shape
several-
to
we've had
something for
several
September.
meetings.
Great. Outstanding. Mr. Susi, maestro, no time to rest. Have a seat, front and center. I don't know how to say that in Chinese, or else I would.
Gave everybody the notebook and.
Thank you. Great to be home.
Thank you.
Now, Andy, you're going to translate this, right? Oh.
Yes, I believe.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have had an exciting year and a half. We first talked about going to China as a dream, became a dream we started sharing with people. And it's one of these things where we said, is this possible? Is this doable? Is it manageable? But given the experience of this music program over the years, because we've done a lot of traveling, we've taken on some pretty big projects, we felt if there was any time we could do this, now was the time. We had a strong group, a lot of strong performers in each section. We felt we had the maturity to do this. So I remember discussing this with Nate early on, and everyone I had mentioned this to was pretty excited about it. And so we decided to give it a go. And of course, this past year and a half has been an ongoing project in terms of fundraising and all different kinds of strategies. And the kids did a great job at demonstrating commitment, regiment, self-discipline, and they really did a good job at pulling this together. So June 19th, Thursday, was the beginning of our trip. Actually, for one group, it started the day before. It started on Wednesday after final exams for many. And we had 3 separate groups, a total of 347 people, 252 in the band. And by the way, they don't have marching bands in China. I mean, what they have for marching bands is just nothing compared to what we have. And we were being advertised over there as the largest American marching band to visit China. I'm not sure if we were or not, but in our particular area, that's one of the things that they had going for us. I have to say, everywhere we went, the students, everyone was treated like VIPs. When you know, whether it be police escorts or dinners in our honor, greetings extended by officials in the area, we were really, really well treated in many respects. So Flight 1 took off on Wednesday around 3:30. They left by coach to JFK. And the reason why they went to JFK is because they felt they had the lift factor that they needed, and we wanted to leave from the East Coast. So we bussed down by Premier, and we had fire escort, police escort. Polly Ann Winslow did an amazing job at coordinating all kinds of media, and we had so many people there to greet the kids. We had families and friends, and we had staff, we had school administrators, we had local clergy, we had politicians, we had the press. It was like unbelievable, and all the way down Mammoth Road as well. They escorted us to exit 4, and probably everyone was wondering what was going on, but it was a big deal. It was really, really nice. And then the second group reported at midnight. That was another 100 students. The first group was going to Shanghai. Their flight departure was 2 a.m. and they left Shanghai and left for Shanghai and had a 9-hour layover, which sounds like a long time, but these people had a bus tour schedule for Shanghai, so they got a chance to see another fantastic city, and then came back and resumed their flight to Beijing. Flight 2 was to Hong Kong, and that was Cathay Pacific, which I understand is the airline to fly. And by the way, these were 3 Chinese airlines. The first one was China Eastern, thank you very much. And the third group arrived at 5:30 in the morning and for a departure to JFK, and their flight was in the afternoon around 4:30, and that was a direct flight, and that was for 147 students, 147 people. One of the neat things that we did in this trip is we had a dress code for every day. And we felt with all these people, safety was obviously an important thing. We were traveling 7,000 miles, okay, to the other side of the world. And 12 hours difference. That's about midpoint, okay? And the dress code really ended up being, I think, a grand idea because it was good for security. For instance, the day we went to Tiananmen Square, and I'll get to that in a moment, the kids wore a lime neon-colored shirt, and you could spot our kids in a moment. And that was really good for the chaperones to help manage students. And by the way, it got a lot of attention, too. The Chinese people and other tourists really picked up on that really quick. So anyway, so Flight 3, which is the flight that I was on, finally lands in Beijing after 13 and a half hours over the North Pole. And we learned when we arrived, by the way, we had to go through customs, and we had separate carnets for each flight. Now, a carnet is a document that inventories what we had taken for equipment. And the nice thing about that is when we got to JFK, we told them, okay, this is our carnet. These are the instruments. Like, let's say we had 161 instruments or 181 instruments. Now, that included piccolos and clarinets, even though those instruments weren't necessarily, they were packed in their suitcases, but they were on the inventory. And I'll explain to you why we did this in a moment. So we got to JFK, and they signed off on a document. So when we get to China, they want to see all these instruments, see if it's registered, and it was. So we showed them the carnet, and then they have the right to inspect any number. So they chose a sousaphone. I think it was item number 161, and I think when they saw the measurements, they wondered, what is this thing? Now, we took a lot of stuff. We took 9 sousaphones, and a drum line is 40 people. And we took amplifiers and electric piano and all kinds of stuff. So we had quite the carnet on our flight. So number 161, we had to find this kid. So sure enough, one of my sousaphone students raised his hand. So about 3 or 4, maybe 5 officials came over and tell the student open it up. And they saw it was a sousaphone. They're not in the band business, so they were amazed. But these things are like 130 pounds a box, and they're good size, and again, we had 9 of them with us. So it was really cool. And what was really good about that is that on our return, there was no way they were going to question, say, well, how do we know that instrument isn't being taken out of the country without proper, because everything was documented. And they signed for it. They had signed it to allow it in the country, so they had to sign to. So that's a new thing that we did. Well, actually, we've done a lot of new things because we've never done international before. But we were advised that this would be a good way to approach this situation of customs because I had heard in one of the references that a certain instrument, I don't remember if it was a bass violin or a cello, with one of the groups that performed a few years back, was contested at the time of departure as to whether or not this instrument was with them when they first arrived and all this type of thing. But the carnet would be documentation, official documentation, because they would have signed for it. So that ended up being a really good thing. So we finally cleared customs, and that's when I first found out that we had a student with a missing passport. Not lost, missing. It was on the Hong Kong flight, and the student didn't properly put it in his folder, I guess, and so it either fell between the seats or on the floor. But he didn't notice it until after he was in the terminal waiting to make his connection for Beijing. And once that was known, he wasn't allowed to board because not only was the passport missing, the visa attached to it and the whole thing. Now, he did have a photocopy of his passport, but this is now Friday because they're 12 hours ahead, after 5 o'clock, so the consulate is closed till Monday morning, okay, and there's just, so the options were that we were probably going to have to send him home or and that's what it kind of looked like. So thank goodness for cell phones. I called our superintendent and shared the situation with him because I didn't want him to hear about it after it went around the world a little bit. So anyway, so Nate and I discussed it, and I told him I'd keep him posted. So the kids were really upset because, after all this time together, to have something go wrong for a student was something, it was a downer. So the next morning, we found out at breakfast that the airline recovered the passport, delivered the passport, and we're making arrangements for these two to join us because we left the student with a chaperone in Hong Kong. And when I announced that at breakfast, it was so cool because the students gave this. Now, this is a nice young man, quiet, okay, not a flashy kid, just a really, really nice, hardworking kid, part of the drumline. But you'd have thought it was like the president of the class. Everybody cheered for him. They had become a family. All this work that they had done for months and months made them a family. There was concern, there was compassion, there was real care for each other. And it was a really neat thing to see how excited the students were when they found out that, yes, that one student that had missing that passed, his passport was now going to be able to join us after all. So that was a standout reaction for me, and so I thought that was a nice thing. So anyway, so by the way, we checked in our hotel that night at the Loon Palace, a 4-star hotel, really, really wonderful facility. Everything was, no one was tired, however, because to them it was daytime. They had slept on a plane, which they shouldn't have, and so they were now wide awake at night. So the next morning they were kind of dragging a little bit. We went to Summer Palace the next day, and later that day, our first performance was Saturday, and it was at Changping number 2 school, Changping number 2 school. It was a Saturday afternoon. They were in classes. China has a very, very high regard for education. It's very, very important, top priority for young people. So this particular high school had a very strong focus on the arts. Like I said earlier, they don't see marching bands over there. So our performance was on a field, at the soccer field. We had 2 lines, the center line, okay, and the front side line. So in 90-degree weather, we pulled in with our 8 buses, and amidst a lot of stairs. And the kids quickly, they were in uniform, they got their instruments out and fell into block formation quickly. They're an impressive group to see organized, and they were getting a lot of stares. So they fell into block formation. We brought them out to the soccer field, and we brought them onto the track. There was a track surrounding it like ours, and brought them into starting position, and then the speeches began, the greetings, the official greetings, the exchange of gifts. This was a common thing over there. We gave a number of items for gifts. We brought a couple of American flags. We brought a couple state flags. We brought baseball caps with USA, Lancet Marching Band on it. We brought all kinds of things. They liked things made in the USA. It was difficult to find.
Yeah.
It was. Everything made in China. Not everything, but a lot of stuff. So anyway, so we did. Now the greetings take twice as long because first it's said in Chinese and then translated into English, so the students were here. In the meantime, our kids were on the field baking. It was hot, and but when they finally did their performance, they got a very, very enthusiastic reception. And so we played the national anthem in China, the Chinese national anthem, our national anthem. We played My Motherland, which is one of their country very famous folk songs. We did a number of things. We did our show. We featured the drum line. They absolutely loved the drum line. I think everybody by now has seen the drum line do their thing. They've played for the Celtics and stuff like that. That was a real hit. They just cheered and cheered. And after we were done with our performance, they did not want us to leave, and we were ready to go because we were like just totally soaked. And but they wanted us to stay. They wanted us to take a tour of their facility, which students did. Some of them went to the science building. Some of them went to their orchestra rehearsal, which had Chinese instruments as well. But nothing, again, marching or nothing that, just different. And they had dance class. And all their children, all their students speak English. They wanted the opportunity to converse with American students because they wanted the opportunity to practice their English. I have to tell you, that was one of the highlights for me, to see the enthusiasm, the warmth, and the friendship between their students and our students. That was so powerful for me, and I kept thinking, let's get the governments out of the picture and let's let people celebrate their individuality. I just thought that was one of and this happened twice. It happened at the end of our tour when our students had the opportunity to perform for a college group, a university group. And so that was a very, very interesting day. That was a wonderful day. Students got put their instruments away afterwards, and they had all had a good time. Our students, but they're exchanging pins, they're exchanging email addresses. It was just really, really a wonderful hour. And so we got into the buses, and it just meant a lot to everybody. I mean, our students, and I really felt it meant a lot to them. And we went to the Carey Center, which is one of the Shangri-La hotels. This is like a 5-star place. We had a grand ballroom reserved for us upstairs, and a Western banquet. It was really, really amazing. We were welcomed that night. We had a banner. Every place we went, there was a banner for us. We had official greetings, and we had wonderful evening food, and it was just a nice night to kick off our official being in China, in Beijing. Next morning, we went to Tiananmen Square, the Green Shirt Day, and then we went to Forbidden City. Now, this is the third time I happened to have the opportunity to go to China. Last year when I went there, I was disappointed with Forbidden City because there was scaffolding up all over the place because they were renovating. And now the scaffolding was down, and it was like beautiful. The architecture had all been touched up, and everything was bright and just really, really perfect. And so the student had a chance to see that, which was really, really great. So that was quite a long tour. The Forbidden City, also called the Imperial Palace, was constructed starting in early 1400s. And I'm thinking, wow, this is like, almost 100 years before Christopher Columbus's, famous trip. And there were 9,999 rooms, because the number 9 signifies longevity. Everything is symbolic over there. And it was very, it was really a great time. The kids were together in groups by bus, and we're doing a great time, having a great time. And so that's what happened. Then afterwards, in the afternoon, we went to Temple of Heaven, and that was another wonderful experience. We did a great a group photo over there, and they had a chance to hear a number of musicians playing Chinese instruments, and that was a great opportunity as well. There was a lot of culture woven into this whole trip. That night, they did the Peking duck dinner, and then afterwards, we had a performance on a stage, the Olympic Cultural Program. And we were on stage with a band from Singapore and one from Thailand. And we had to split our group into two. This was concert band. And even though it was concert band, our students stayed in their marching band attire. And they always looked sharp. No color guard this evening. The next day was the Great Wall. And I have to say that was the highlight of the trip for me and probably for most everybody. Badaling is the entrance that we went. Great Wall is like over 4,000 miles long. About 2,500 years old, parts of it. It's just hard to believe where you were. And after our performance, the kids had an hour to just walk up and down the wall. And we really had a great time. In fact, I don't know if you had a chance to check out page 2 of the souvenir book that we brought back for you folks. But that's a shot. I think that will probably be a long-lasting trademark photo of our band. It was a great time. And, I can't say enough good things about the Great Wall. And no matter where you looked, it was just so picture perfect. I mean, all the mountaintops were crowned with portions of the wall. Much of it is still standing, and some of it is not. Some of it is ruined. And so later that night, we played a concert at the invitation of the military band. So we played a military band auditorium. They were feeding the kids ahead of time, and I have to tell you, they didn't know what our kids like. Most of the kids did well with the eating. I don't think they were aware of how many students and how many people we had. The food line was not going very quickly, and we had a performance to do. So we made a deal that we would get them something to eat after the show, and we got some mileage out of that. The kids performed that night, starting with a jazz band. We had a symphonic band, concert band. The color guard came out. We played My Motherland. We did the Chinese national anthem, our national anthem. It was really, really a wonderful evening. These two performances that I told you about were in auditoriums, very nice auditoriums, acoustically. I mean, and caught the students a little off guard a little bit because, but they did, I think, a nice job, a very respectable job. Were well received no matter where they went, including that evening. Afterwards, when they got to the buses, they found we had McDonald's double cheeseburgers waiting for them, and they tasted American, and that was a hit, I have to tell you. The next day, we checked out of the hotel, and we took a 4.5-hour drive to Chengdu. Chengdu is northeast, and I would say Beijing being a tier 1 city, this would probably be like a tier 3. It was maybe 300,000-400,000 people there, quite a bit smaller. And we checked into our hotel, had a nice evening, that was the night of the rain. Next night was the night of the rain. I have to tell you, we had a flash flood. They were having a drought all these years. I shouldn't say all these years, but they've had a drought for a long, long time. So we, the next night, of course, we were like 2 blocks away from McDonald's. One right across the street was Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kids wanted a little Western. They had a taste of McDonald's, so they kind of wanted it. So anyway, we decided that we would let them go with chaperones. So I was up on the 13th floor, and all of a sudden we look outside, and it started to rain, and it was really, in no time at all, it was really, really coming down. I mean, like a major, serious rainfall, and the wind, and it looks scary. And then all of a sudden, the lights are going out across the street, and so we went downstairs to check out in the lobby, and it was really, the rain was really building up outside, and there was some flash flooding. And McDonald's, being down the street 2 blocks, was kind of downhill, and the traffic is at a standstill. And by the way, like I said, we were well cared for. We were staying at the only hotel in town that was capable of accepting, I'm just trying to think of the right word, allowed to accept international guests. So we had a generator, we had power. Okay, again, we were well taken care of. So the students, and I didn't realize how many students are down the street, and some of them were quite nervous, and others thought it was very exciting. Water came up a few feet up to the steps. They had to go up like 4 or 5 steps to get into the place. Again, I wasn't there, so this is what I understand. And I'm still learning more details about the trip. Even last night I learned some more information. And so some of them got nervous, and the lights went out and the whole thing. And then so finally, some of them started making their way back. Bit by bit, everybody made it back to the hotel. And most people were pretty excited about things. But some, again, were quite nervous, and they saw a couple cars float by and things like that. So it was definitely unbelievable. But in spite of what I just said, remember I told you there was a drought going on. The next morning we performed on a field, a soccer field, and it was very little standing water. I mean, that water just got totally absorbed. The problem was in the city, the drainage is very, leaves a lot to be desired, obviously. And so anyways, the students got back to the hotel. And just then I realized my cell phone was ringing. I had a message waiting for me, and it was our superintendent who said, "Andy, word around here is that there's a monsoon in China, and students are stuck at McDonald's. Please give me a call." At that point, I was relieved because everybody was back. So I called them right back, and I said, "Everything's under control." But again, I didn't realize how much fear had what was going on. I want you to know there was a blog that was being updated nightly. And when you stop and think that they're 12 hours ahead of us, by the time everything was uploaded, it was like morning. So people were getting this stuff fresh every day. And it was just amazing at how the turnaround, even the next night, I got a phone call from Channel 7 News, WHDH, I believe, and they wanted to know if they could have permission to use one of our, a video clip from YouTube from one of our blogs. And, I didn't know it was such a big deal back here. In fact, when I returned, that's when I realized the pages and pages and all kinds of things. And I was very impressed at how all this kept people informed back here. about the day-to-day excitement of everything. So that was quite the night. So next morning, again, we had state police escort every place we went. Our 8 buses, they had policemen on the streets, and they just waved us through. When we did our final performance at the university. And there were a couple of other American bands, one from Pennsylvania and one from Arizona, and plus a Chinese band. Plus they had other acts, and we were the closing act on the field. We were going to do our field show until we found these props on the field. You can't walk around these props, so we did a standstill. But I think the way we got onto the field and the pieces that we did, and at the end, the last 2 numbers, they were, again, the drum line was a big hit. We had one more song. Everybody was cheering. And then we just impulsively, we added the Chinese national anthem, which everybody sang, the Chinese people sang. And then we immediately followed with the national anthem. And, of course, the other bands that I just mentioned, they were in the stands watching us, and their parents, plus our parents, and they were singing. It was so neat. That was the bridge. That was the bridge of the 2 cultures. That was we were there to be part of the Olympic celebration, to support the Olympics, and that's why we were there. And to me, that was just a really neat thing to see happen. So we got on. We got in the vehicles afterwards. We did a little tour, a little cultural exchange, and went back to Beijing. Saw the Children's Acrobat show that night, and then next morning we got ready for departure, and we came back with no eventful incidents. It was just a really great time. Good people watching us, helping us out. A couple of nice things. We had a nice letter from the governor. Governor Lynch supporting, showing, saying, that they were glad Londonderry High School had been chosen to participate. We had one from Senator Judd Gregg and from Senator John Sununu, and we sent those to China. We had one from the superintendent and from Marty Bovey as chairman of the town council, and I think people over there knew that this was a band that had some political backing, some political support. We had the Washington connection, the state level connection. And I really think this contributed in part to the great reception that we got. I really think that, and there's one other thing that there'll be a follow-up coming to this. We had sent a letter earlier expressing our condolences for the victims of the earthquake of May 12th and the many, many lives that were lost. I believe it's over 70,000. And the students signed it and everything else, and just to express our condolence and stuff. And I think that letter is going to get some attention. And it's just, I think they saw a group that was not only looking for a musical experience but a cultural experience. And it's almost like maybe some time down the road there should be a follow-up here somehow. It was just really, really great to see this take place. The kids had a wonderful time. We have so many people to thank. I mean, the Friends of Music Executive Board worked very, very hard. Julie Lee, I don't know if she slept much this past year, and our treasurer, Barb Barthelms, plus the whole group, we met a couple times a week as a norm. The membership was so supportive. We had the corporate community that did so many nice things for us. Some in donations and others just in kindness, nice gestures. We had the auction was such a success and involved so many people. There were a lot of times this past year where the community had shown its support in one way or another to the things that we were doing. And I have to tell you, it's as a teacher and student travel is such an educational opportunity. But I never had envisioned something this was waiting for us in the cards. And like I said, we were ready for this. I think this moment in time in the history of our background. So with that, I don't know if I have anything else to say. I tried to give an overview. The kids were amazing. They did a good job. And they will never, these are memories that they will cherish forever. There's no question about that. And they all have stories, wonderful stories, and highs and lows. And with that, I'll just ask if anybody has any comments or questions. I'd be happy to address.
Anybody on the board? John, Steve? Andy, you guys did a great job of representing us, and you speak about everybody else, but you deserve a big hand too, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Wouldn't be there if it wasn't for you, sir. And we thank Mrs. Soares for keeping us all here informed.
She has some wonderful writing. I read her
We've
stuff
got,
when we
she is
returned.
unbelievable. I can't tell you how wonderful it was to get up in the morning, and right after you must have called Nate called me about the lost passport. And I said, oh, we're starting out well. Here we are Friday afternoon at noon, and already we're, but then we saw the videos coming in from a bunch of the kids, and, I mean, it was just great.
Thank you.
So,
It was, I'd like to take a second to show this poster if I can.
Sure.
I brought it over, and I know you folks have that, and it's the same photo. But I want to thank you folks for your support too, because, it's easy to say no to these things and say, oh, it's too much trouble. But you folks are always there for us, and it means a lot. And we feel like with your support, we can go forward and do these things. And I've gotten all kinds of comments, like, what are you going to do next? I have no aspirations to try to outdo this. No
what
aspirations.
about vacation?
Andy, Tranquility Base.
Tranquility Base.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a great one.
Fantastic.
So that's the newest addition to the band room there, Mr. Susi?
Oh, we got all kinds of banners there now.
Oh, I bet.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you, Andy, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, committee reports. CJ,
Hello.
nice summer.
It is. Well, it's not quite a trip to China, but the student council sent
It's gonna be one of those years.
student council sent 6 of its members to Justin, Texas, for the National Leadership Conference, which is near Fort Worth. And it was sponsored by the National Association of Student Councils, and the members there interacted with student council members from all over the country. I think it was something like 45 of the 50 states, and Puerto Rico and Canada were there too. So we got to meet people from all over. And each member attended leadership workshops and listened to a number of motivational speakers over the course of the week. And that's in hope of bringing back the skills they learned to our community to better help us. This last week, members of the student council met to help the curriculum coordinators move, organize, and barcode books. That's all the textbooks and the reading books in preparation of the upcoming year, and we plan to come in and help more over the next month. As a matter of fact, on July 30th, the Student Council Executive Board is going to meet with administration to plan freshman orientation on August 26th. And lastly, in conjunction with the Student Council, the town will be putting on a teen concert at the Town Commons under the name of Applestock on August 16th, and the concert will feature local bands and invites all the teens of Londonderry to attend.
Great, thanks, CJ. Steve, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. It was pointed out that I have a temporary nameplate here, so apparently I'm on a trial basis, so please indulge me. So that if it doesn't go well, I appreciate you at least giving me one night anyway. Generally, I'm an ad-libber because I teach 8th grade, but I will read tonight because I want to make sure I don't forget anything. So thank you very much for welcoming me. I look forward to sharing some information over the next year from the teachers around the district. And I will be splitting this duty actually with Stella Skarapowski, who sends her regards. I'd like to quickly now run through some of the information that faculty and staff have shared with me over the last few days, starting with summer school. The 130 students in the summer programs are all off to a great start. Beginning with the high school, Greg Warren reports that there are approximately 141 students taking a combined 57 enrollment spots. Civics/Economics, Algebra 1, English 11 and 12, and English 9 have the highest enrollments, averaging about 10 students each. The LIFT program, that's the incoming freshman program, has 19 students enrolled, which is just under 50% of those initially identified and invited to the program. This is the 5th summer of LIFT. The emphasis continues to be on building self-esteem, developing good habits, time management, study skills, organization, and goal setting. We've taken field trips to Nashua Community College and the LHS Media Center for a scavenger hunt. Thank you to the LMC staff, especially Lynn Jackson, who gave a nice overview of their services. And of course, reading strategies are consistently being reinforced throughout all aspects of the LIFT program. Mr. Corey at the middle school reports that there are 17 students taking summer school in math, of which 12 are taking pre-algebra in order to qualify for algebra in grade 8, and 5 are taking enrichment math in order to get into pre-algebra in grade 7. Annie Kalachi added that these classes allow for students to accelerate their math program at LMS and transition to the high school with more freshman offerings. The photography enrichment class is also a big success, and the robotics computer camp begins this week. Mrs. Kalachi also wrote that the Wellness Committee is fast at work planning their 2nd annual Wellness Day in September. This day was a huge success last year and is backed by both student and staff demand. This year will also include a 2.3-mile walk, guest speakers, and activities revolving around wellness and fitness. Mrs. Soares wanted the board to know that the summer school tutoring program in language arts and math at the middle school is going very well. The students are enjoying the challenges that are being given to them, and the days are flying by because they are so involved in the activities. She expresses her thanks to Kim Carpanoni, Jill Connors, and Bess Arnold for keeping their eyes on the program to be sure they have all that they need. She also wanted her followers, it's in quotation, comment to go on the record. She wrote that as a follower to China with the band, she witnessed what wonderful representatives they were for our high school, school district, town, state, and country. They were respectful, elegant ambassadors, and we are fortunate to have such a music program that allows for this kind of adventure. Mr. Susi, Mr. Bolio, and Ms. Lucas are educators who inspire our students to do their best. The chaperones were vigilant, and as a parent, she felt very comfortable knowing her child was in their care. She wrote to please let the school board know how thankful she is as one member of the Londonderry School District family to have her son in such a terrific program. And finally, Mrs. Brighthop emailed that the last day of school at Moose Hill was celebrated with the ringing of the school bell. Each classroom gets a turn to ring the bell that hangs at the entryway to the school. The students look forward to this event, and it is a highlight of the school year. In closing, I'd like to just say to the members of the community that may not already appreciate this, that here in Londonderry, there really is no last day of school. You just heard some great examples of the learning and growth that takes place all year long. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Campo?
The building committee met last week in June over at South School. They had the portables down. They're moving like heck. The inside of the building, I think it was the day after school, the main office was ripped apart. They're moving along very well down there. One of the things, aside from the building, Chuck and I were talking after school, and one of the things that Chuck is going to be looking into, not so much for South School, is the potential of maybe switching over early one of the schools up here to natural gas. We have full tanks of gas. Chuck did a good job purchasing the gas early, or I'm sorry, the oil early. But what we may end up doing is maybe transporting it down to one of the schools that have oil in there and just use the money there. So Chuck is looking at that. We have the potential to do that at Matthew Thornton and at the middle school as a potential item. So we may have something here that comes in front of us asking for some dollars to do a conversion so we can take advantage of the lower gas prices over this year. So Chuck and I were talking about that. There's more to follow on that issue.
Yes.
So that's all I've got.
Thanks, Ron. John?
Nothing this time.
Thanks. Steve?
I had no official meetings. I will say that one of my unofficial positions while the band was gone was not sleeping at all. We ran a data center for the students who logged in and did the blogging themselves, and it was an amazing 4,000 people a day while they were over there. All different people, never counted twice. Going to the site over that 5 or 6 day period, well over 120,000 different views. These are not hits. Hits were in the multiple millions. It was just an amazing process, an amazing amount of people, press and family and people from all over the country. And to watch the map on the wall light up when the people from China came on to send their information in, it was one of those tingling kind of moments. So I just wanted to share that with you. Just an announcement, not a liaison report, but there's an event called Cover the Common on July 28th from 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And the concept of this is to cover the common with food for the food pantry. One of the items, some of the items that they're looking for in particular include protein products that do not perish, and that's like canned meat, tuna, everyone's familiar with, turkey, chicken in a can, canned ham, or even canned bacons, even canned butters and canned cheeses if you can find them. They are available, and the canned stews with meats and that type of item. Anyone that'd like to volunteer can connect with that. The town website has a link with further information. That's at londonderrynh.org. And I'm sure that the school would have a link to that same connection. It gives all the details on that. And these will be packaged in boxes so that they're easy to, for the soup kitchens, for the St. Jude's Food Pantry to pull out and distribute when necessary over the next few months. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. I actually had a quiet month or 3 weeks or whatever our last meeting was, so that's a good thing. Moving along then to deliberation. I got an overnight request for London High School girls cross-country. Nate?
Your information is in the packet. These are the overnight trips that the cross-country team normally takes, and we identified for you on the spreadsheet where they're going, who's supervising, and whether or not they're missing any school.
All righty.
Chairman, I move that we accept the overnight trips requested by the girls' cross-country team.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, Mary. Thank you. Good luck, girls. We'll move then to, we've got the grant approvals.
Yes, you have in your packet information on Title I and Title IIA, and description of what we intend to do with the funds, and we ask the board to vote approval to accept those funds.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the grants for Title I and Title IIA.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mary, 4-0, thank you. And we will move on then to the review of student discipline policies.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept for the third reading policy JER Level 1 through Level 4 offenses, policy JFCH-JFCI-R, student suspension and expulsion readmission contract for the third reading, and policy JFCH-JFCIE, student suspension and expulsion readmission contract for the third reading, as well as policy JFCH-JFCI-R, student alcohol use and drug abuse for the third reading.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Before I take that vote, is there anybody in the public who wants to make any public comment regarding these before we pass them, because this is the third reading? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-1.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on policy JFCL, breathalyzer policy for the second reading to amend policy JFCL-R, use of the breathalyzer for the second reading, and policy JFCL-E, breathalyzer test decision flow chart for the second reading.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. 3-1. So it moves to the third reading.
Should I keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Mr. Chairman, I make
You're rocking.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on the nursing policies as follows. Policy EBBA, emergency care for the second reading. Policy EBBAA for the use of automated external defibrillators for the second reading. Policy EBBAA-E, automatic external defibrillators, AED incident reports, second reading. Policy JHC, student health services and requirements for the second reading. Policy JHCA, physical examination of students for the second reading. Policy JHCA-R, medical statements for athletic participation for the second reading. Policy JHCB, immunization of students for the second reading. And policy JHCC, pediculosis.
Got me.
Pediculosis.
What is it?
Pediculosis.
Pediculosis for the second reading. Policy JHCD, administrative medicine to students for the second reading. Policy JHCD-R, administering of medicines for students, second reading to rescind. And policy JHCH, exclusion from school, physician's notes, second reading.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I was just looking to make sure they were on the website.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Mr. Chairman,
And that's on, is it on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Ron.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, before we go on to the next one, and I'll pick up for you, but I just wanted to make sure everyone in the public knows that all of this information is at londonderry.org. If you go there and go to the school board tab, at the bottom of that page, you'll find all of these documents, if you're interested in reading them before the next reading, which would be the third reading to adopt.
Okay,
And
thank you.
pediculosis stands for lice.
Thank you.
That would be the medical terminology?
What, lice or pedicular or whatever it was? Thank you. This is why I'm not a physician, see that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
One at a time.
I'd like to make a motion for use of facilities, KG, common use of school facilities, second reading to amend.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on policy KG. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on use of facilities, KG-R, use of athletic game fields, second reading to amend.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on athletic game fields? Actually, hang on one second.
No hurry.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
It's 2-2, Mary, sorry. So that's gonna move, actually, we'll just move to the second reading again in a month, because we're split.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a suggestion we move it out a little bit farther than that?
Certainly.
Because
I'm
I'm not
fine
gonna
with
be
that.
here,
Yep,
and
and
we're
we're
gonna
gonna-
end up with a 2-2 vote again.
Right, we're gonna end up with a 2-2 vote again.
Can't assume that.
Well, no, we can't assume that,
Right,
but
but-
I'm willing to entertain it and move it out.
Just point of order, how many 2-2 votes, or
Um,
what is the process? I mean, does it eventually fail, or?
But the answer is, it doesn't fail at 2-2 because you just bring it
It
back at
just
the time of
has to
full
come
board.
back.
Okay.
So as long as it stays tied and we want to keep it on, I mean, we can,
Okay.
I assume we can move it out and just say, listen, it's not going anywhere, correct,
So-
Nate?
Yes, so we put this on for the 26th of August.
And just so that everybody knows, I think the sticking point here is whether dogs can be on the school grounds or not.
When people are.
When school activities are occurring.
Right.
So I just want to, it's not that we're opposed to anybody using the facilities, it's simply about the dogs.
We're opposed to dogs using the facilities.
And some of us are opposed to dogs being there, some of us are not opposed to the dogs being there, so.
And possibly someone in the community could stimulate some
And
conversation
somebody come on up.
that would,
We used to have what, some of these, we've had junkyard wars, we can have dog wars now. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move policy IIAE.
Are you barking over there, Mr. Greenberg?
Not gonna say
My
word.
dog's a lover, not a fighter.
Mr. Chairman, I move policy IIAE staff for second reading to amend. Acceptable use policy.
Acceptable use policy.
second?
Second, motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, Mary. Okay, I think we are done with the policies, and now let's move off to the middle school computer lab. So, Sean, Susan, Andy, I didn't see Joe. Oh, no, good, I didn't miss her.
Just to let you know, Mrs. Oswald couldn't be here this evening because of an online course she's taking, and they're having a Skype call. Just came up at the last minute.
Thank you.
I know.
All right. It's all yours, Mr. Coe.
Thank you. Everyone knows that the district training lab that has been housed in Moose Hill Room 17 is being moved to LMS 126. And what we have here in the packet is three different options concerning how to equip that room, whether or not to use desktops or laptops. This is a discussion that's been going on for a couple of tech committee meetings, and it was recommended that it be brought here. So we have a few different options here where we tried to consider the integration and utilization of technology and also minimizing cost. The first option is the one that was originally presented in the budget. There are currently 30 machines in that lab. This is to replace, and 30 in Joe's lab as well, in Moose Hill 126. This option is to replace those 30 with 30 dual boot laptops. And what I tried to include with each of these options is the current cost of the equipment and what was originally budgeted and what the difference is. In each case, it is a savings from what was originally budgeted. The next option, option 2, is the one that we are recommending actually. That's 24 dual boot laptops, 6 less than what we originally proposed and what is currently in the lab. We feel that this option allows us to allows the lab to serve adequately as a stationary lab and a mobile lab, and also provide adequate training resources if we were to use those machines elsewhere in the district for off-hours training. The total cost of that option is about $24,000, about $12,000 less than what was originally budgeted. The last option, something that we've talked about at the tech committee, which is taking 18 of the dual boot laptops and adding in 12 desktop units, which we could get out of the Mac refresh schedule. Basically, we could take 12 of the Intel-based machines that are currently in the 5th grade and move them over into the training lab to give you the full set of 30 that's there now. The problem with this option is 18 machines isn't enough to cover all the students in any of the LMS classrooms. And 30 machines, honestly, is pretty crowded for room 126. It's not as big as room 17 at Moose Hill. There are ventilation and air conditioning issues in that room. So it's our opinion that while we would get 30 machines out of it, and it is a cost-effective solution, it doesn't have the same utility, and it does provide some space and heating issues. I don't really have anything else to add. So what
Any
questions do you
questions?
have?
I guess my problem is that this lab here at iVision, that all these computers are going to dissipate, and this room's going to be virtually empty a lot at a time. So the use of the classroom as an educational process is going to go away. We're going to have 3 over here and 2 over here and 4 over here, and it's going to go away. And if that's the purpose, then tell us that's your purpose. But I don't see it there as use. I've got a person involved here too that's going to have a lab and no computers in it either. So those are the 2 issues that I brought up at the tech committee that I still have the concerns about. I understand the heating issues, and if you're going to keep them all in there and use them as a educational lab, that's fine. But I see teachers seeing laptops and they dissipate all over the rooms for ones and twosies, and that gets around what we want to put in the rooms. And then if a class wants to come down there, it's not available for classes in the educational process. And that's the answer. Is it going to be for an educational process as a classroom lab, or are you using it for the pods and sending them out to the pods?
No, the lab is signed out as a total of 24 at one time. So a teacher requesting that is signing out all 24 if they're leaving the lab to, say, go down to a language arts class or a math class. So the sign-out piece is there. We are not going to be putting them out unless it was 2 groups of 12 to service 2 small special curriculum classes to maximize that. The intent is also there are days when Mrs. Oswald will be in the elementary schools working with 5th grade teachers in the classroom on integration, so there is no person in that lab now. That lab is utilized now only when the teacher accompanies the class. So this just provides the flexibility of the computers coming to the students rather than the teacher coming to the room. Either option is still viable.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as you move these portables around, the concern is you got constant transportation of these things. A desktop stays there, you got it in one spot. Desktops are, labs are generally a little bit, laptops a little bit more fragile. And those are the other issues that came up at the tech meeting.
How are you going to move the machines? If you have to move 24 machines, how are you going to do it?
These are actually, most schools refer to these as cows, cart on wheels. It's a mobile cart. And they decorate them as cows too. But anyway.
Only if they're from Gateway.
They have plug-in stations that charge the laptops. And so it's moved as one unit into the classroom. They're designed for portability and flexibility. We've used them, we have a mobile lab at each of the 3 elementary schools. And in general, they're pretty easy to move around the school.
John?
How much of this question revolves around heat production and dissipation? I mean, if there were a way to handle that easily, would that make the desktops the optimal solution?
The heat is a significant issue, and we did look into ways to bring air conditioning into that room, and there was nothing that was feasible or cost effective. And certainly that would be the reason we wouldn't advocate for all desktops in that room. We've had a number of issues this year where the machines experienced a thermal shutdown, and we were lucky to be able to recover those.
George?
Yes.
Sue, do you remember when the cable studio was in a little room off the high school library? The way that was air conditioned was using some cold water process?
Yes, there was it seems to me, as I recollect, it was a standing kind of.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I do recollect that.
Did we consider options like that? Would that be feasible?
There is one of those units in the room, and it does not sufficiently cool the room to support the computers. There has been one in that.
And putting a second one in wouldn't do it?
It's very difficult because those units in an interior classroom like this are vented into the ceiling, and at some points, once the building heats up, there is no way to get rid of the hot air. I'll use the example in.
Excuse me, I think this one was vented into the cold water plumbing.
I do not recollect the particular mechanics of how that all worked, so I can't.
I believe this one was using the cold water system to carry the heat away.
I don't know.
That I'm not sure of then. I know Chuck has looked at a number of options for that room, and these portable ACs that vent into the ceiling of what we have been using the last couple of years.
So, just to continue with John's point, then, the major reason we want to use the laptops is for heat dissipation? Or is it for educational purposes?
Well,
Gotta give me a choice.
I would say that the major reason, when we first looked as a technology committee at the issue of labs, the lab at the middle school, and the fact that we needed to do something about the training lab at Moose Hill, we were thinking we were going to have to replace both of those facilities completely. And then we discussed, why don't we leverage the fact that we could move the training lab into the middle school and use one set of computers versus having to buy 2 sets. So that we seemed to, I don't mean to say kill 2 birds, because I own 2 birds, I don't, with 1 stone, but we thought that that would kind of leverage our ability. So the training lab has been very flexible for us and allowed us to not only use it in the Moose Hill environment, but it's been moved here on numbers of occasions. It's gone into other schools on numbers of occasions when there was no training occurring. In this model, the ability to, and the middle school was very interested in portable one-on-one computing in an actual content area environment to leverage the integration, to get the kids to understand, as we have begun to do so at the elementary school, that technology is not a standalone where you go someplace to use it, but that you actually integrate it into your content. And we have seen elementary kids so thrilled and excited about the fact that they're able to be in their classroom and using the resources that they have there for their particular content area or grade level, it just makes a world of difference. We've done some research on it. You should see the work that the students produce. I don't know if you were at a C3 committee presentation that was done by Ida Jura and Sue Teslis a couple years ago on using one-on-one computing in the instructional environment, but the student product was so far above what we would normally see. It was actually not just showing product, it was showing process. The kids were getting it. So that's why the middle school was interested in spiraling this up, because the kids at the elementary schools have had this opportunity, and we wanted to continue it at the middle school. So I know that the technical issues, the heat, the space issues too, are a part of our discussion here, but from an instructional point of view, it was our intention that this would really take learning to a new level at the middle school.
Okay, thanks. Steve?
It's been my experience that desktops are more cost-effective to laptops, by a factor of, in my opinion, 2. So it is something that I would always try to select that first before going to a laptop. That being said, in reading the document and reading the analysis, if this is something that that you think would work best for this particular environment, in an educational environment, and you have this situation with the heating of the facility, I'm comfortable with it. But again, I would normally look to the desktops absolutely first. But it appeared when I read through it that you had gone through that analysis, and what you just said was very interesting.
Ron?
Last question I had, and I had it at the committee meeting, was what percentage at a time will these be used for non-student activities? That was the other issue brought up at the committee. Training of the staff and stuff like that, so we take it away from the students and we give it to the staff to train, that we move it to another building. That was the last issue that brought up. What is the breakdown? Now they're 100% for the students. How much at a time will they be not for the students?
Well, I think when we decided to combine the efforts, that, we have to serve 2 masters here, but I'm a teacher and an educator first and foremost, so my interest is in making sure that these are available for the kids, and to make sure that their instructional program is, their access to the curriculum, their access to learning and inquiry is served first. I don't know if I can give you here and now a percentage, but if we could get out of the blocks on this, I know I would be ever vigilant to make sure that we were serving instructional needs. The teachers also have instructional needs in order for them to bring in, learning to its full potential, but I think we can work, we are trying to do the same 2 things with half of the equipment that we previously devoted to those 2 endeavors. That's what we have to kind of grapple with here, but I think we can do it.
George?
Yep, John, sorry.
Sorry, I can wait.
No.
Okay. Sean, how long do you anticipate these computers lasting?
Well, the machines that are in Joe's lab now were purchased in 2001, I believe, 2000 and 2001. So I would expect that kind of life out of these.
But they're not subject to being picked up and moved around all the time. Is that what I'm hearing?
They're not subject. Well, I mean, there is a decent amount of moving around that they do. Even within the school and within the elementary schools, these probably would experience a little bit more of that, but I wouldn't think it would be that much more significant.
Are they going to take more usage? I mean, with what Professor Ballard is saying about about these machines serving multiple purposes
Sure.
between training and as a, lab resource, call it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think that they would receive more usage.
Because when I was writing for a newspaper, I'd go through a Mac in 2 years.
Well, I guess what I can tell you, what we have for information is anecdotal evidence based on the other labs that are out there. The labs in the elementaries, the mobile labs, which have very similar equipment to these, do see a substantial amount of use. And, we're still getting 6, 7, 8 years out of those pieces of equipment. So really, I wouldn't expect it to be significantly different from that.
Okay. Andy, how much time do you think this room will be used as a workshop or a lab?
The room is used on a constant basis. It's signed out, teachers sign out the curriculum labs now for next year. They work hand in hand, and we have 173 plus 126. The difference would be there will be some time blocked out when students wouldn't be in 126 because of training, but we have also talked about opportunities to do the training before the elementary day starts.
Okay.
Starting the training at 7:30, and teachers would be back to their assigned locations, and we would maybe miss a period.
Now, how does that mesh with what Sue said regarding these things being used outside a laboratory in a curricular setting?
Well, I'd kind of compare them a little bit to the Alpha Smarts. We have 3
Yeah.
complete sets of
was
Alpha
thinking of that,
Smarts
too.
that are, kind of adorable machine, but middle schoolers can tend to beat on machines. Now, they've been with us, I believe it's their 3rd year. There are very few times when one of those labs is not in use. Because what we've tried to do with the Alpha Smart is take all basically the word processing out of the labs. So the labs are more used for the internet, for research, multimedia, and when you need that technical assistance from the tech ed person, because maybe the teacher's stepping out of a comfort zone. But that's also the piece where we look at the integration, is now we have a computer lab staffed by an integration specialist. So for those teachers who maybe aren't that comfortable going into labs, they might feel a little more comfortable going down knowing that they have that support.
See, this reminds me a lot of the conversation you and I have had, Sue, about TV studios, that they're really good for teaching TV, but most of TV work doesn't happen in a studio in the real world. I think you're exactly right that a computer lab is real good for teaching computers, but in terms of using it in a real life, you're not going to be in a lab all that much. I'm just trying to get a sense of the balance here in where that
The other
works.
aspect by going with the laptops is if Joe knows she has a training and it's with 8 teachers,
Yeah.
that gives us, the extra laptops that are available. And when you look at some of what I would call the smaller classes, your special curriculum classes, those type of settings, we haven't isolated the room. Obviously, when you need the 24, the room is totally utilized. But there will be some times where we can take advantage of it being mobile because Joe needs the physical space of the room to do the training, yet she doesn't need all the computers.
I think the other important note to take is Joe is a district-wide person. So just like when she was housed in Moose Hill, she also spent time at the other schools too, working with teachers and providing training in their classroom or other stuff too. So what I don't want to get lost here is the fact that Joe is a district-wide person. She's not just assigned to the middle school for teacher training and staff development.
And I know I've spoken to Joe because I believe the 5th grade is the first grade that's turning over from Macs to PCs. One of her goals is to be out in the 3 elementary schools on a continuous basis working with those 5th grade teachers. So there'll be many days where her day could be at South, at North, at Matthew Thornton, and we'll be able to utilize the room as a room with or without the computers. They could be in a classroom or they can be in the class, in that room.
I guess, I'm sorry, I guess my concern really has to do with the availability of the computers to students. The more I'm hearing this, I'm running into, I'm not so sure, both issues are important, but I don't want to take something that we've taken for granted at the room, that we've had the lab there, and we're now going to be splitting it, and we'll, sometime in February, March, we start hearing concerns that we're not getting the computer time that we got before in past years. And that's the concern I have, that we're using it for education of teachers, which is a good thing and something necessary. And maybe some of the money that we save by building the computers you need to make some portable things that you have the student centers available, even if you put them in the classroom or you don't put them in the classroom. I just don't want to hear in February that, you know, we're using it for another purpose and the students are getting shortchanged.
Ron,
Okay.
how about we come back in November and give you an analysis of how the lab and the equipment has been used and whether or not we believe it is working or not working to that degree, so that, in essence, give it a shot. We believe it'll work okay and work fine. And with the integration of the computers into the classroom, we think that there'll be a big plus. But we'd be more than happy to come back in November and say, here's the way we envisioned it, this is exactly what's happening, here's the percentage of time it's being utilized by students. Andy can say, and Andy and Sue can say, yeah, we're fine on the time in the classroom, or we're a little shy, or we've got to adjust this. But we'd be more than happy to come back in November and give you an updated report.
I can buy that. Can we get some teacher comments on that too? So get their input into what they're feeling too.
Be happy to do,
Okay.
we'd be happy to do that.
All righty. I'll entertain a motion then.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we support option 2 with the reporting back in November.
Second.
A motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none?
Andy, why don't you stay up here, and then we'll do Andy first. That way he doesn't have to walk back and forth, you know, he's getting old.
The board has in their packet the second semester discipline report from the middle school. For the second semester, we had a total of 46 suspensions. 20 of them were assigned to 8 students. Of those 8, 7 also earned suspensions in the first semester as well. So those are our frequent flyers that we monitor on a regular basis. Those children that were in the 8th grade that are going to grade 9, we have been over to the high school. Jay and I have met. Jack Janakis and Mike Torch have talked. So we really want to continue following up those students. Students who are in the 6th or 7th grade are assigned meeting times with various administrators to kind of review their progress on a regular basis. A lot of it is trying to just promote good habits as opposed to poor habits and to intervene prior to things becoming a problem. 3 of the students who received multiple suspensions have chosen to leave the district. There were 134 other students who received a consequence other than a suspension. 99 received nothing more than a warning of demerits. The other would have been some sort of a detention, also in communication at home. The amazing thing that always jumps out at me when we do the end of the year is we had 1,140 students. That is more students than are in most middle schools that did not have any infractions whatsoever. You know, and I think we take that for granted sometimes. They come to school every day, they do what they're supposed to, and, you know, they often sometimes go unnoticed. So I always want to make sure we compliment them and thank them, because sometimes we get bogged down with certain individuals. Are there any questions from the board?
Andy, it seems that the 46 is higher than we've seen in the past. It seems like
It
a higher
is-
number.
It is up 8. I checked that, it's up 8. It was 38 for the second semester last year. And it's just, there are a few individuals who, you know, again, we are in constant communication. A couple of them are moving over to the high school, so we've already taken some steps and done a number of things utilizing Lyft and different programs, hopefully to get them back on track.
Can I ask, in the future, can we have the same formats on both of these? We've asked this before, so you know, I can compare what's happening here and then almost look to see what's coming over the next year. I like the high school format, the incidents, the number of students there. I'd like to see that carried on continuously.
Yeah, I think we've asked that before too, Nate. So if you can just make sure that, you know, we're getting the same format, because I'd also like to see, as Ronnie says, it's good to look at them the same, but it also shows us, you know, one semester over another. And
That is fine. I think with X2, that actually will become easier. What work we've done on it already, it's a much easier tracking mechanism
Great.
than WinSchool.
All right, so next time we'll see the same format?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Oh, Mr. Richards?
And actually, before, come on up. Before we go to that, I haven't, when was the last time, when are we gonna get the enrollment report for the end of the year? Or did I miss it? I can't remember seeing it.
Didn't we give you one
I
at the
don't
last
remember
one?
seeing the end of the year report, but it may be my own sanity.
I thought we did. it
Okay,
too.
I'll check the packet. I may have
If
just
not,
missed it.
we can give you another.
No, I probably missed it, or is it online somewhere? No?
Probably
Okay,
not.
okay. I probably missed it somewhere then.
I will double check for you.
No, just, I'm probably lost it, Nate. It's me, I'm sure.
You
I'm sorry, we're just
fine.
kinda, we digress.
You were probably absent, George.
I probably was, probably physically here, mentally absent. Hello, yes, thank you. Believe me, I've spent more time in my principal's office than I care to remember. Now that I've said it, my last son has graduated high school, doesn't matter anymore.
Jay and I are here to present the second semester of the 07-08 school year semester discipline report. But we would like to start off, because a numerous amount of the board have seniors this year, and I think you will agree with us that this class of 08 is absolutely one of a kind. And we just wanted to publicly acknowledge them, because through the senior breakfast, through the class trip, graduation, you just saw a group of kids this year that was just simply amazing. And they really helped us, as a new administration team, grow with them, and they helped us along the way too. And we just wanted to say thank you to that senior class, because we had zero to none, but not discipline issues with them at the end of the year. And that's a kudos to the senior class. They were a class act. In the report, I have the usual numbers that you will see, but a few things that we wanted to point out that we thought stood out, that we worked hard at, was out of 1,827 students we have at Landoy High School, only 540 kids were seen by an assistant principal for a discipline issue this year or this semester. During our first semester of the school year, we had 57 students who the administration team addressed as frequent flyers, and those are kids who we have as 5 or more discipline infractions. We have cut that number down this semester to only 24 students. And out of those 24 students that we consider our frequent flyers, 21 of them are in an action plan, behavior plan, some sort of system within the school that we're helping them be successful and cut down their discipline infractions. Last time we reported, we discussed that we were working hard in getting our percentages down on cutting classes and truancy, and we are proud to say that this semester, that cutting class was down 34% from last semester, and truancy was down 33% from the first semester. Those were some of our things that we worked really hard as an administration team on. Even though classroom disruption went up, and you can see that in that report, as Mr. Sleeta said, we're getting the kids in class now. Now they're just, some of those kids are causing minor disruptions in the class, but they're there.
Some of that just spring, too.
Spring, yeah, hot days. We had many hot days.
It's interesting to note that, because sometimes we will follow up. We'll talk to the kids' council. They'll sit in our office, or maybe go to in-school to finish out the period. We'll follow up with a teacher, and the teacher will say, I just need him out or her out for 15 minutes so I can get through this lesson. And there wasn't a lot of follow-up there. And then the teacher engaged with the student afterwards. So.
Okay.
2 other things I would just like to report. One, that the use of the breathalyzer. LHS had a few incidents this year with alcohol-related issues, but we did not have to use the breathalyzer at all. Our students are very honest, and we did not have to use it at all this semester. And I also included in your report, you asked last time to include the amount of E's, which is attendance failure for the
Right.
students, and I included that in the report so you can see how many students received those this semester as well. And you see the numbers kind of go up and down from term 1 through 4, and we sat there today and we were trying to figure out why, they go up and down. We couldn't put our thumb on it as to why the numbers change so much, but we have a very strict attendance policy, very strict truancy and cutting class policy, so when the attendance failure comes in play and these kids come back to try to appeal, and they've been through some discipline issues with us, it's very hard for them to appeal, and that's why sometimes the E's are up a bit more for some kids. Let's see. I think that's all I have. The rest is in the report, and
Okay.
feel free to ask questions.
I actually do have a question. On your page, I can't tell what page it is actually, but it's probably the second, back of the second sheet in, so it must be page 4. Possession of drugs and drug paraphernalia. I've got a total of 6 incidents, 6 different students, I think is what I'm seeing, right? Bottom numbers incidents, top numbers. Yet on the front, if I combine marijuana and pills, I get 9 incidents for 2007, 2008.
When Jay and I were talking about this too, and I think,
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what? I'm wondering if it's because this is the second semester. There was only 2 in the first, there was only 2 in the first semester.
but you know what, we were talking
So
about this
it's
today. and I-
increased by 3 in the first semester, so it's doubled in the second semester?
Yes,
That was because of one particular dance, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That's correct.
one incident can take up many.
One incident, well,
It was one incident at one dance.
with one kid.
No, with several kids.
One event,
One event.
multiple incidents.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And
So,
another thing, George,
alright.
just to clarify, is we've had a
Okay.
hard time running the numbers in the Win School report, and I think Andy already clarified that we're excited about the X2.
Right.
Because even some of the wording we were talking about today, it's not wording that we use.
Yeah, I think we found that out with Blake last year. It was some
And the numbers
chasing somebody with a
sometimes-
car or something.
Yeah, and sometimes the numbers don't match what we have, and we recount the
Okay.
numbers and recount. It's a number
Alright.
game, and I think X2, when we went through the training, is gonna help us out with more clarification on some of the incidences. Hopefully,
And terminology
yeah.
of the offenses.
Okay. All right, any other questions? John?
Just compliments, and I guess this is the last time for Jim as well, on the low number of, let's call it violent incidents. But there are still some, and I really hate to see that. Just, that shouldn't be happening in a school.
Jim's at home watching, he did want us all to wave to him. He's watching the All-Star game. But we have to, and John, to piggyback on you, we have to kudos the kids as well. The kids help us, this administration team out 100%. They work very well with us and stuff. We find out stuff from them and the teachers, and it's a whole team effort. And we're very excited about the new administration team, very new, coming in next year, and I think we'll work just as hard as well and bringing down the numbers again.
Great. Anything else? No? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our favorite subject, CIP, Mr. Currow.
No, not the favorite one.
All right, we'll wait for that until the South School bonds. then.
That's right. In the board packet is the CIP plan that was approved last year by the planning board. As you know, the CIP committee, school board and the town council will submit a CIP plan to the capital improvement planning committee, which then sends off a recommendation to the planning board, which ultimately has the authority of adopting the town CIP plan. School board, in the packet is, as I said, is last year's plan that shows, scheduled, at least for FY 210, is monies for architectural engineering, I understand. Architectural engineering for a proposed SAU office, with the following year, a bond article, and then the following year, the architectural engineering for proposed auditorium to the high school, and then the bond article. Those are the 2 projects, at least for the school board's perspective of what's on the CIP as it stands last year. The committee has met once and will meet, looks like it's gonna be a nice, another marathon session on August 21st to hear presentations, rate the projects in terms of safety, educational purposes, community needs, so forth, and then present, and then send off a recommendation to the planning board.
All right. So what are we looking for, Nate?
You need to make
Discussion?
you need to agree that this is what you would like to
Oh, okay.
send to the CIP committee, change it, whatever.
I want to look,
Go ahead, Steve and Ron.
I want to give a general feeling on this, in general direction. Looking at our items, which at this point are 2 items, based on the current economic environment I am very comfortable sliding those for the situation that we're having with fuel, with families in the community, with the upcoming elections. I'm just comfortable sliding them out further. I'm not comfortable with potentially other projects piling on if we slide them out. On the other side of the house, I think that the committee that's structuring this spreadsheet needs to take a look at smoothing out, our growth until we can get some industrial development into the town. And I think that's really where the key needs to be. I can talk about specifics on the school district office, and I believe we'll have a proposal in September at the joint meeting with the town council where, they'll talk about some other options there. We are certainly doing a better job of managing it than Manchester is, where they've spent $1.5 million in rent, and now are just looking at using excess facilities that they have to move their district offices into. So I think being innovative like that is good, but the whole thing, I would be comfortable if it was pushed. I also think it would have more opportunity for success if we can get through the election cycle, get through this situation we have with fuel. I think presenting these items to the voters at a later date in later years would result in more success. But that's just, as Dan would say, my 1/5.
So comment I want to make on the town side, since we're not as we don't watch what the two main projects that I'm aware of. Obviously, we know that North Fire Station, or I guess it's called Northwest Fire Station, was the bond article that failed. And, I can't say it automatically comes on this year, but I think it's either going to come on this year or next year. And the other large project in the town is the intersection.
Pettingill Road.
Yeah, yes. Which is
The
a large
airport
number.
access road.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thanks,
And
Peter.
just to close, God bless the citizens of Londonderry that voted in South School. We really appreciated that.
Yes, we do. So do our children. Ronnie?
Yeah, I have to echo Steve's thoughts on this. The voters last year gave us South School, which was desperately needed. They supported the bond article. We've got the building going up there, and that was for the children. I believe these articles here can move out a year, give a year for us to move it. I know we're moving some of the stuff out, but I think these are not essential projects like the South School was. So I think I would take 010 off and just move it out 1 year and just keep 010 free.
Okay.
The town has some issues that they need to take care of. They were kind enough to help us last year. I think there's a chance that if anything's passed, that we throw our support behind something like the fire station.
Thanks, Ron. John?
Well, my 5th is usually a small bottle, but I'm going to.
Explains your breathalyzer vote.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah. I voted for the breathalyzer, just not the level 4 bit. I think that might be the dog vote too. I agree about the district office as much as it would be nice to have some relief for that. This isn't the time. Also, I have a certain affinity for performing arts in town. And while I'd like to see the auditorium project, I don't know when there would be support for that. That being said, George, there was a time not too long ago you and I were in the gym during a pep rally, and we began to talk about whether there might be architectural solutions or retrofit solutions to baffle some of the sound, dampen some of the sound and the echoes in there, and maybe retrofit the gym into a space that could also be used for some degree of musical or dramatic performance in some way. And I wonder if that's something that we should be considering in light of having the performing having the auditorium on the capital improvement plan, maybe this is something that we should look into and see if it would be at least an interim solution that would provide some performance space, some usability that might not otherwise be there.
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly open that up to discussion. Now's the time if you want to try to get something onto the CIP.
But would it be a capital investment?
I don't know, but I
That's
think
my- I don't,
I do think we should look at what the options are and what the choices are to see if it would even qualify at that level.
yeah, so that may be, Nate?
My 2 cents. I don't think a retrofit of a gym, if you want to call it, or acoustics, would qualify on a CIP.
Okay.
Unless, I mean, if you're starting to talk about that big of money, I mean,
Yeah, what did we say?
that, to qualify for a CIP, I would suggest that if in fact we wanted to take a look at it, that would be something that maybe would be more appropriate if you decided to go that way. Maintenance trust or something else, or budgetary cost. And particularly if you're looking at it as an interim solution, because it'd be you know, depending on how many years you're talking
Yeah,
about. you know.
it may be an interim solution.
Well-
It's like the modular classrooms.
In the hope that we ultimately get an auditorium, but looking at the reality that we're talking about pushing 4 years' worth of projects out at least 1 year from here, how do we go about starting looking at whether there's something that could be done that would achieve some degree of functionality?
I mean, the way to do it
Have
is,
to grab probably Frank.
Yeah.
well, you also have the discussion amongst us to decide whether that's something that we want to move forward. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with looking at something like that, so.
Yeah, you know,
I mean, that's my 1/5 anyway.
talking about being out of my comfort zone, I mean, I have no idea
I
as
don't,
to
I don't have any clue,
what
so.
would have to be done
I'm
and
good
whether
for
or
the
not that
discussion.
would
Me neither.
impact the
Yeah.
athletics, so that, I think it might be something we'd take a look at,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't, you know, I
Yeah,
just
no,
don't
and
know.
neither
just
do
don't know.
I just don't want to, you know, based on.
I'd just like to start the research project as opposed to saying that we're necessarily moving forward with
No, I'm
anything
not,
that
I'm
comes
not
out of it.
suggesting we move forward. All I'm suggesting is if the majority of the board is saying, yeah, that's something we should look at, then that's what we should go ahead and do.
I would suggest that we talk to Andy first
Yeah.
about whether it's really feasible and with his expertise and his connections around here to do something like that. If he says, yeah, something like
Okay.
this is feasible, then I think we go to the next phase.
That's
And
fine.
if he's saying, no, it ain't, it's not gonna work, I mean, I think that would be silly for us to even attempt something like that when we have an expert in the house or someone that knows this type of thing better than I would ever know it.
I agree with you. I'd like to think about including drama people and other potential users as well.
So it sounds like we're okay with you going forward and just starting to look at that with Andy and
Yeah,
maybe
we'll look at it
Jim,
and-
Jim Tremblay or,
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
mean, I
place to
think we
start,
just-
'cause
yeah,
have
I mean,
no
that's where I
per-
would
I
start.
have no idea.
and neither do I.
It's unfortunate we hadn't thought of this when we did when the auditorium committee was active.
Well, we can bring, but I think what we've got to do is some backup work.
Yeah, I
first.
think there's some preliminary things that we can do, and we can certainly start doing that, so.
And then considering that the Get Smart movie is out, maybe we can get a cone of silence.
Right.
and-
There are days, Nate, trust me, that I'm sure many people wish you had a cone of silence.
There you go.
All right, and for my opinion, I'm perfectly fine with pushing. Excuse me. You feeling all right over there?
I'm fine, George.
Pushing it, you know, I'm good with sliding it forward.
they're
I just
tearing
think
down
it's
Yankee
the
Stadium.
right thing to do for the community now. They are tearing down Yankee Stadium, I understand that, thank you. We'll go into mourning shortly. Okay, so I think you got your
Hang on through the
direction.
night.
Sorry, wait.
Mr. Lincoln has a finger up.
I'm sorry, Bob. I so used to seeing you in Florida on a DVD. Come on up.
We have them on demand now.
I don't disagree with what you're doing, but I think you might want to wait till the fall or late as far as the office go. The reason I say that is that things are not good financially, and they're not good financially at the state. SAUs get 40%. SAUs might end up with 0 in the very near future because, one, they don't build many SAUs. 2, they need all the money they can get for their building aid. And, you know, to delay it a year or 2 years and then find out in December that the state is going to, effective 2010 or 2011, do away with aid for SAU buildings. You know, I don't know what the SAU building is, $2.5 million, whatever. You're talking $800,000-$900,000 in state aid that you'd be losing by delaying it a year. Maybe in December, the decision is, I mean, you can take it to the CIP committee, that you're not committed to it to put it on the ballot. But I think, go forward with it. In December, things haven't changed. It doesn't look like the state's going to take any action in SAU. I think it's a good decision. But if things are looking differently in November or December, as far as from the state standpoint in the rate goes, you know, now it's too late. CIP has pushed it out to 2011 or 2012. Now it's awful hard to bring back. But I'd just leave it there and see what happens in November, December, and, you know, you don't have to put on the ballot in March. You know, you don't have to make that decision until, January or February. But leave your options open, because I think that's a lot of money to throw away. Could be.
Yep. Bob, I agree with you, but the state now is not going to do anything until
2 years in.
they're not going to do anything until after January type of time
Yeah,
frame.
but Nate's going to be going to meetings. You know, you're going to have, I think, you're going to have some indication, possibly from the state, of where they're heading as far as down the road goes. But
Well,
that's my, you guys can do what you,
Yep.
you know.
I'm not sure I can see that the town can afford a building whether or not the state is putting in a chunk of it. It just doesn't seem like a year to be building.
That's a good point. Anybody else?
Well, it's not the building. All you're looking
Well,
for is architect fees.
Yeah, and my only other point to that is, I'm still paying taxes to the state. I may be getting 40% of that back from the state, but I'm still paying my tax to the state. The state's got to raise that 40% from somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, it's spread over a greater base, but it's still part of I'm still contributing my part to that 40%. And I appreciate what you're saying and appreciate your experience. You've been doing this a very long, long time.
I know. But $800,000 is 28 cents.
Steve?
Bob, you may not be aware, we had a joint meeting with the town council and the two, as I referred to them, CEOs. And one of the action items that they had was to take a look at this complex here, the municipal complex, and to see ways that we could save money on housing the employees. My concept on it, I was thanked for coming up with the idea, but after I explained what my idea was, I don't think people were as happy. My idea was that everybody snuggle up inside this building and we all just get a little bit closer and we work out of this building. At which point, we're talking about a reconfiguration of this building, not, a construction of a whole facility. I'll have to say that I pushed for that when we did the construction of this facility. I was on that building committee and was unsuccessful at getting an open office concept and having a bit of a different configuration. Stonyfield opened its new manufacturing office space this week. On Monday, they opened their doors, and that office space is nearly completely, except for the vice president's, an open office concept. Saving on energy and getting people communicating and working together better, and in a cost-effective construction manner. So I think we'll have some conversations in September and, hear some other ideas which may not be as, I'm sure in town employees' opinion, as draconian as what I propose. But, we'll go to it from that. And from what other people said here, it's just, I don't want to rush to get the money from them when, in fact, we've already gone down from 2.5 million to 1.5 million on our placeholder on this. It's just not this year is something I'm not comfortable with.
Okay, anything else? Pete, you got your direction? Good to go. Thank you. 403B.
Yes. As requested by the board at the last time this was presented, which was, I believe, 2 meetings ago, we did meet with leaders of the teachers and other groups in the school district. We discussed with them the new regulations as that will be coming effective January 1st by the IRS. They explained it wasn't by us. We explained to them our recommendation. We explained to them the options that are available to them. Susie had done some surveys or polling, and it seems that many of the school districts in the area are kind of split on whether they want to suck it up, so to speak, and go to a one-vendor solution, or go with a third-party common remitter service and allow employees to have a menu of vendors to choose where they want to put their retirement funds. This request is not to recommend any particular vendors per se. It's simply a recommendation by us to become compliant with the new regulations that are governing 403B retirement plans that comes effective July 1st. Our recommendation, and I think all the groups, as I mentioned, talked to, kind of agree with us, that for the time being or the short term, the easiest way to do this and become compliant would be to enter in a contract on an annual basis. I mentioned a 1-year contract, a rolling 1-year contract. In our case would be CPI as our recommended vendor. That would get us compliant. That would keep the menu of vendors available to the employees. And then when everybody's back in school and everybody's settled in, Susie and I would bring in a set of dates of 4 or 5 of vendors. We'd get a selection of employees, have a presentation by each of the vendors. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 5. And then at that point, we'd decide whether we want to stay where we are with the common remitter service, or does one vendor provide, I'll use a number, 80% or 90% of what the funds that the employees want to put their money in, and save some money on a one vendor solution. This gets us, as I mentioned, compliant, gets the IRS off our back, so to speak. It keeps the plan secure, so no one, so the plan stays compliant, and it gives us breathing time to look at other options down the road.
First of all, why does it have to be a year contract? Couldn't we put it into effect right on January 1st? Do this year to get the people, whatever you need to do at that point, save some money for the employees at that point, and start January 1st to July 1 or June 30th, and then see what the other options are. I think it's worthwhile. I'm not so sure all these other places have all the plan put together, and that's from personal experience. I've done that already, and they may have the first tier, but they don't have the second tier ready to give out, and they want people to sign up for that.
The problem with the timeline you gave is we need, or they need, both of us need time to, what has to happen is, let's say we agree with CPI tonight, just for discussion. They have to go out and submit documents, what they call sharing agreement documents, to all the vendors that we currently do business with. So that's going to take a fair amount of time for those documents to go out, for those vendors to receive them, to the vendors to come back, and then you want at least to be able to be set up somewhere around November 1st or December, so when we go live, we're all set. You don't want to go January 1st and have a bunch of issues, and people's money aren't going where it's supposed to go. That's why I want to get this done. I'm sorry.
Right, I'm just trying to clarify what Ron said. If we enter into a contract, then obviously there's the front-up setup. I think
Yes.
what Ron was saying is the employees would start paying in January as opposed to September. Is that possible?
That's the
I-
correct,
Right?
that's where I was
That
going.
will-
I can look at that, but I think, and I understand what you're saying, I can certainly look at it. What my fear is that I'd want at least a couple of months of monies going in. Maybe it's not July 1st, maybe it's like November 1st, where everything is set up, so monies are being flowed, so that when January 1st comes, we're all compliant and everybody is set. I understand what you're saying, and I can certainly talk to CPI when we can start, I'll use the word, charging the employees for the service.
Right, well,
That's what
that's,
the concern is.
right, the charge for the employees, if they can start it that way, I can
can-
move it a month and say December 1st, the first
Right.
paycheck in
I-
December type of
Certainly
deal.
I can certainly look at that. I can't speak for them, but I can't see why that wouldn't be an issue, because the setup fee, which is, as we discussed, will be paid by the district, is what will take the first several months of them to do. And so money isn't going in to the last part, so
Right.
it shouldn't be a big issue for them.
Okay, John?
First, thank you, Peter, for going off and doing the research with the employees and people regarding their preferences on this. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Chairman, if any of the employees in the room tonight have an opinion or an insight they'd like to share on this.
Okay, let me just hear from Mr. Young first, and then we'll ask those guys.
Is there a reason that you can't manage this?
Yes, we actually asked two of the vendors that do this, what it would take for us to do this. And both of them came back very similar in that it would probably take 3/4, if not a full-time person, to handle this. It's not simply just tracking transactions. The person will need to have skills in managing retirement accounts, because there are also issues come up about hardship cases, taking money out in advance, how much you can take out in advance, repayment of loans and so forth. So it's not just payroll, taking money from Steve Young, Peter Curro, and then transferring it around. There's a variety of skills that this person needs to do. So, as I mentioned before, we were probably looking to add somewhere between a half to 3/4 person, I'll say business office, I don't know what, department will go in. We asked around, and to my knowledge, none of the school districts are going with managing this in-house. And the reason I mentioned before was the cost of bringing on a person is insignificant to the risk and liability that would be incurred by the district. By contracting the CPI, the risk and liability of errors is on their shoulders. And since they have all the skills, the software, the systems in place, they're much more astute to handling this type of situation than us bringing in one person to handle this. And the two groups that I talked to basically said if you had excess time of, let's say, 3/4 of a person, you might get away with it. But if you feel that you're already at your limit, both of them said it's not the best interest to go ahead and add a person to this, because one of the reasons we might go to a one vendor solution down the road, and so that person comes on and then creates a vacancy. But I mentioned, it's not the cost of the individual and benefits, it's the risk associated with managing the program and the amount of money that we're talking about.
Well, if that's true, then how in the world can we manage our payroll? Why don't we have a payroll service taking care of that?
Because all we're doing,
I would expect that the IRS expects us to follow the rules and submit
Yes.
the right stuff, and wouldn't we need a payroll service to help us with that?
no, because all we're gonna,
A payroll service must be more complex to run than this 403B.
they're not.
So the 403B is more complex to run than the payroll service
No,
for
what I'm-
1,200 employees.
No, what I'm saying is, we've looked at two agencies, ADP is one of them, and asked them if they could run our payroll, and the complexities of our, if we're gonna divest this, the complexity of our payroll, they could not handle. What we're doing, go back to 403B, is by having CPI as the common remitter service,
Okay, so
we would,
let me interrupt. I don't want to get a debate thing here.
Yeah,
I
and I don't
apologize
wanna
for that.
to
But-
divert into
but-
payroll either.
Right. If ADP cannot run our payroll because it's too complex, and if we are bright enough and smart enough to run our payroll, I really see no reason why we could not run the 403B.
Okay.
I mean, if the boards wish to run it and add,
No, without adding. If we can run a complex payroll system with the bandwidth that we have, I don't understand why we don't have the bandwidth to manage this 403B, why we have to contract it out.
Ron, you had one more comment, and then I'm just gonna ask the folks out there if they have anything.
I guess one question, is the town going through the same thing?
no, the town has 457 plans, which
Okay.
they know is probably 2 years out. And
It's coming.
I'm saying, 2 years out, and they'll be doing, they will be in the same boat.
It'll be there before long.
Right.
And to John's point, does anybody have anything?
I promise not to yell.
You're not yelling. Okay, so I think Steve makes a good argument, quite frankly. I'm not sure why we wouldn't
Well, I
do
guess,
it, but I mean, you guys need a motion, right? So,
just my 2 cents.
go ahead.
In talking to a number of the other superintendents, because this has been ongoing discussions throughout the year, every superintendent I've spoken to has in fact gone with a contracted service such as CPI. And as Peter had mentioned, one of the key issues is the liability issue that can result in someone looking to skirt the 403B rules and getting that issue out from underneath or off of our back. And for the cost of $1,500, which in essence is what the cost, they pick, for the year, they pick up, obviously, all the software costs, they pick up all the operational stuff, and they pick up the liability for us. So from that perspective, it seemed to us to be the logical decision to make, and logical recommendation to make to the board regarding the handling of the 403Bs.
And now that 1,500 is the cost to the district, correct? But there's
Correct.
also a cost
Your one-time
associated to-
setup charge.
Right, but there's also a cost to the employee,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and we don't, under the current system, we collect nothing from the employee?
That's correct.
What is the
Or they do it
aggregate
themselves,
cost?
right?
Hmm?
I guess that's the question I'm driving at, is what's the aggregate?
It's $250 a month for,
How many employees?
for employees
How many are participating?
at the current moment.
600 a month, give or take, right? I'm terrible with math, as
And,
we all know.
you know, really, and what that comes
about
down to,
600.
under the new 403B is that the employee is, in a sense, paying for the option to use multiple vendors. That's really what it comes down to, plain and simple. So to have the option of picking from a menu of vendors, there's a cost associated with that for the employee. That's really what it comes down to.
And we'll say, Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons why these regulations came down, I think, is because the IRS simply just got fed up with organizations, I'll use the word that Superintendent used, skirting the regulations and so forth, and just came down hard and said, we've had enough, we're dropping the hammer. These are the these are the areas you must comply with, and no ifs and buts. It even came down as strong as to say, if they find that there are omissions, errors, and violations, that they would have the ability and the power to throw out the entire retirement plan. Don't forget, 403B is just one plan or one grouping of retirement accounts that the employees have. There's We also have 457s, and there are others. So when we do a document in CPI, if the recommendation goes through, would be in charge of putting together the plan document, which encompasses all the retirement accounts that we have, okay? And that plan document with all its provisions and with hardships or whatever, would then be what's used by the HR department when questioning. That goes to, that is all managed by CPI. We obviously partake in what we want, what services we want in the document and document plan. But CPI actually manages the hardships, the escrows and the early withdrawals and all that.
On the 403Bs.
Yes,
And you said we also, I'm sorry, you said we also have the 457s?
yes.
What's the difference?
The difference comes down to 403B and 457, comes down to like dates of withdrawals, the amount of withdrawals, the amount that you can put in, it's those kind of issues. I mean,
It's all
they're to the point where 403Bs, 57s are probably this much now, as opposed to many years ago, it was a big difference.
So do we
I
manage
guess
the
the question-
457s?
You wait 5 years, they'll all be
Do we manage the
401Ks.
457s now too?
We don't manage it, no.
We don't.
No.
Who does the 457s?
The individual vendors. So if I contract, so if I have my account with Valak, I could have a 457 plan with Valak, just make this up.
Yep.
Valak, when I want to withdraw money or whatever, I contact Valak and they do the background check to make sure that I qualify, so forth and so on. But what's happening, and the problem with that is, when you had multiple vendors, you could have, I'm just gonna use Peter Carroll's example. I got a 457 with Valak, 457 with Horace Mann, and let's just say, just for discussion, I'm allowed to take 3,000 out a year. I'd go to Horace Mann, take out 3. They do the check, yeah, he's okay. I'd go to Valak and take out 3. They never knew that I took out 3 from Horace Mann, so I actually ended up taking out 6. So that's one of the big things of this common remitter, is I could have accounts with Horace Mann, Valak, and Fidelity, okay? I go and I ask under a 403B plan, I wanna take out money, okay? They would know that you've already taken out in January $3,000 from Horace Mann, you can't take 3,000 from Valak. You're at your limit. That was one of the flags that the IRS rose that
Okay.
people were doing.
So, but why is the district responsible for that and not the employer? Why isn't Peter Currow the one who's got to explain to the IRS why he took out Horace Mann and Fidelity? I can't
Because the
remember.
IRS has now come down and said the district is the sponsor of the plan, and so you will be responsible, and that the retirement accounts by your employees, they're your employees, will be managed properly. If there are omissions and errors, and of course they could be fragrant, but if they're big enough, in the documentation I've read, they will come in and just invalidate the plan. So all the retirement accounts no longer become tax deferred.
So this proposal that you got here for the CPI is they're gonna cover the 457s and the 403Bs
Correct.
and the B22s and everything else?
Right, so what happens is,
I'm not sure.
from payroll, we
I'm not
send
sure about that.
X money
Yep,
to CPI, they then distribute it to
based
whatever.
on where these guys tell them.
Have asked them to go.
Send it,
Right.
and whether it's 457, et cetera. Ron?
Let me ask a silly question here, and if 457s and 403Bs are this way, and they're not controlling 457s, why wouldn't we just change to a 457 plan for everybody?
Right.
Because two reasons. One, they are different, and they are still different. They're not much, but not as much, but they are different. And now you're getting into where people will want 403B, just like somebody would still want to buy a Chevy Tahoe. And what's happening is, as I just talked to George, wait 2 years, and the same regs and the same arguments are gonna come down on 457s.
But I guess I don't, I just bought 2 years to do it.
Understand?
And I don't have to do any, am I,
No,
But
you're
I
not.
don't think I also don't think you have the time to go and get everybody to move out of 403B into 457 before January 1st.
okay. That may be legitimate, and maybe I have to go here for 6 months. But I guess I would like to see Why wouldn't, tell me why I wouldn't want to do a 457 where the employees don't have to pay anything? I guess this question, if the benefits are the same, I don't see
Well, I
why.
didn't say same, they're not as
said they
far
were
apart
different, and that's
as they
far
were
as
many,
they
and if you go back 20 years ago,
No,
all they,
I don't
Deal
care,
with what's
what
now.
is, what is now? I understand that.
I can put together
That's what we're
a,
looking for. That's, I guess, what I'm looking for.
no, I'm fine. I do have something.
Steve.
So, CPI
yes,
for a $1,500 fee is a plus $2.50 an employee for about 200 employees per month. They're going to manage this whole thing, but they told you that you would need 3/4 of a person to manage this.
they didn't, I did not go to them. I went to two of the vendors that we currently do business with.
Meaning,
Alec and Horseman.
Yes.
As opposed to,
I didn't want to go to CPI, I
Those
thought
are
that'd be a conflict of
457
interest.
people.
right, the
I'm sorry, the
financial,
403B people,
the
right.
financial
Yeah.
firms.
Gotcha.
So they said that we would need 3/4 of a person. How can CPI do it for $1,500 fee?
The $1,500 fee is really the setup,
Because I asked you earlier why we couldn't do it,
right, the $1,500 fee
since it's so cheap.
is to set up the plan document, which is required by IRS regulations, to send out the, what they're called sharing agreements to the firms that we want to do business with or currently doing, and then to set up the transaction connections from that we would send to them, and then they would spider it to the vendors of selection from the customers. They also, as I mentioned, have the systems in place. They have the skill set of the people who know the regulations of 403B, 457, so forth and so on, already in place. So they've already got the skill set, the software, and the systems in place, which we don't have.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we go to CPI as a third-party administrator for a one-year contract, and that we do a study on other options that come up, and that be presented in enough time to make any changes in in what we're doing for July 1, 2009, including involving the employees in this discussion, since it's their money that we're playing with right now. So,
And asking them to pay a fee.
and asking them to pay a fee. Also in that study, I would like the option of going to a 457 plan, that we would keep it in-house and move it back into house.
Oh, I have a motion. And it appears it's gonna die for lack of a second, so. One of the things I think we'd like to see is, I for one wanna know what our actual liability is. Cause right now, I'm not sure. Peter, I know what you're saying with the IRS coming down and telling us, you know, this is where we've gotta go, but I need to know what kind of liability we're actually talking about. What kind of district liability do we have? What kind of liabilities are employees placed in? And you're gonna have to come up, I guess we're gonna have to come up with a different plan, or we're gonna have to do a better job of explaining it to the four of us here, or five of us when Ben's around, because I'm not sure I see what you're driving at, and that's just me, I'm 1/5, well, 1/4. right? So Nate, I think you gotta go back and, I don't know what else to tell you to do with this. I think the direction you need to take is look at all the other options, and I guess we're gonna have that discussion, as Ron suggests, with, you know, the board, Peter. Maybe find representatives from the district employees.
well, let me address that. I don't think, at this point, a discussion with the district employees regarding whether or not we use CPI or some other company is gonna be the issue. The issue for us is, right now, how we have to manage the distribution of these funds to different vendors to be in compliance with the IRS statutes. The conversation that we've had with the employees indicated to us that they want to continue with having multiple vendors. Right? That's done. So the issue that's before us now is how in fact we're going to get the money to those multiple vendors and be in compliance with the IRS. That's really the issue that we're at now. So any discussion with the employees at this point wouldn't address the issue that the board has raised. So what I guess we will have to come back with will be either a clear explanation as to why we feel going with an outside vendor for the disbursement of the funds is appropriate thing to do, as opposed to doing it in-house. What are
Which
the
is what we've
pros
been doing
and what are the
all along,
cons?
though, right?
Correct.
Well,
So,
We have not been doing it all along.
no, right,
Well, I want to make that clear. We have not been managing the retirement accounts all along. The employee fills out a form, I'll use VALIC just for discussion, a VALIC form that says to payroll, please deduct $500 from my paycheck and send it to VALIC. And VALIC manages the account. We're not managing it.
Okay.
We simply just,
like
employee
payroll.
comes in, asks for a tax-deferred deduction, and we send the money to VALIC or Horace Mann or Fidelity or whatever. And those account reps that come in periodically manage the accounts based on the IRS regulations and so forth. There's no management in-house at all on these retirement accounts.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. We don't do it now, we don't want to do it. So if there's a confusion that, well, we do it now, how come we can't do it going forward January 1st? We don't do it now. It's done by the individual vendors or account reps that come in and will make, like salesmen, make appointments and see how you're doing and so forth and so on. So what I'm saying is, what's happened is, because the employees, at least at this point, want to keep the menu of options for vendors. They don't want to go to a single vendor, at least not yet. The easiest, the simplest, the best way to protect the funds of the employees is to set up a relationship with a third-party administrator to perform what's called a common remittance service, so that they will take their skill set and systems, make sure that we're in compliant, and direct the funds from payroll to wherever the employee wants to go. That is the easiest and straightforward solution to guard the retirement accounts so they're in compliance and to make sure the money gets get there in time. If in a year from now, we think we can do it in-house, or a year from now, the employees want to go to a one-vendor solution, fine. We say thank you to CPI for 1 year. We've decided to go
Excuse me.
A or B.
right, if I understand correctly, in essence, the IRS created a situation where you either have to have a middleman who manages the money going from your paycheck to whatever vendor you have selected, or requires additional time or personnel on the part of the employer in the distribution of those funds to also, in a sense, monitor how that person is using their funds.
Or go to a single vendor.
Or go to a single vendor. That's the option. So if in fact, based on what we've heard from the employees, at least at this point in time, they want to have multiple vendors.
We
They're,
heard
in
that,
a
we heard
sense-
that 3 years ago when we went from
Right.
one vendor to multiple
Right,
vendors.
so in essence, what they've said is to allow me to continue to have multiple vendors of choosing, right? At this point in time, I'm willing to pay $2 a month to give me the opportunity, in effect, to do that, right? Because of the IRS regulations, what they've now done is, rather than us just sending, just like payroll deduction, we send the money to a checking account or a savings account, or in this case, whether it's Horace Mann or VALIC or whomever, they have now said, okay, in addition to you sending that out, you now have to monitor your employees' utilization, in essence, of those accounts. and you've got to comply with the IRS. So if John has multiple accounts, and he decides he's gonna take X amount of dollars out of one and Y amount of dollars out of the other, this company monitors and may say, John, you can't take X amount of dollars out of your second account because now you will be in violation of the IRS statutes. And if I allowed you to do that, then we would be liable for it. So if we had our own person do it with multiple vendors, they would have to watch the withdrawals of each account. They basically would have to monitor everybody's account and say, okay, John, you withdrew $30,000, $3,000 from one account. You no longer can take, I can't allow you to take this money out of your other account because now you're in violation of the IRS statute, and thanks to the IRS, we are now liable for action that he takes because it
If only it were true.
Yeah, no, right, but that's the example. That's the issue. The closest thing I can come to the service that they perform is the service that we use for our Medicaid reimbursement. We provide them with the data and the information. They calculate all the stuff they send in the forms. We pay them a fee and we get the money back. They take an enormous burden off our shoulders and in fact accept some liability for it. But that's really what it is. This is not something we ask for. The IRS is now given this additional responsibility to employers, this liability to employers. And by us saying, okay, at least for now, multiple vendors. If we had one vendor, it's no problem. It's just like payroll deduction. It goes to Horace Mann or it goes to Valak. We're done. They're responsible for it. But because we're offering people the opportunity for multiple vendors, we now, if we did it in-house, would have to perform a monitoring function. So somebody's got to sit there and watch, in essence, and monitor John's transactions with multiple vendors.
No, I've sat here. No, the answer is on that, all those requests for withdrawals would go through the office, and then that would be the gatekeeper to send it to it. Just like the money gets sent there, the other part gets sent there.
But
Yeah,
someone's gonna have
that's
to
what I'm
monitor
saying.
and
That's what I'm
know
saying.
the ins and outs, the regulations and requirements of 403B and 457.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
And I would hope that our $250,000 software package, which we pay $30,000 a year in maintenance fee on, could handle those functions.
No.
No.
They could handle the
Don't get much
transaction
for
to
$250,000.
go out, but not monitor the IRS code of how much deductions and withdrawals from retirement accounts.
That's Munis you're talking about?
Mr. Chairman, I think
Yeah,
we've reached an
we
impasse
have-
right now.
We have indeed.
So maybe next meeting or something
Yeah,
we can
ru-
bring
ru-
back.
just add it back to the agenda for whatever the August meeting is, and we'll do what we can to get through it, Nate.
Okay.
Okay. CIP, sale of South School bonds, notes, approval of the interest rate. Peter,
Yes.
I guess that's still you.
Yes, it's still me. I've invited,
I was gonna say, those guys have been sitting there for a while now.
I invited Mr. Conley,
Money
who is,
man.
who is the school district treasurer, and Mr. Lincoln, if you want to come up. No, you don't have to come up.
Come on.
Mr. Lincoln, who is the chairman of the South School Building Committee. Just a little history, the sale of the bonds for financing the Scout Soup project took place on Monday, January 23rd. We had a very good sale, receiving 6 bids from Muni Bonds. The winning bid was an average of 4.09 for 20 years, and the winner, as I mentioned, was FTN Capital Markets. As you may recall, we used an interest rate when developing the FY09 budget of 3.9. At that time, that was the going rate, or the rate that we were told was a good number to use for a municipal rate for our bond rating. The dollar difference, the two, for what a half-year interest rate is just over $14,000. The board really has 2 options. I have a recommendation, but just in the light of full disclosure, the board has two options. It can vote to add 14503 to Article 3, which was the South School, the sale of bonds and notes for the South School project, or simply just allow the 14503 to be absorbed in the operating budget. You do have that, you do that option. Our recommendation is to just allow the extra interest rate to be absorbed in the approved operating budget. I do want to mention that Moody's, even with the fund balance issue that was in the report, kept our district bond rating at AAA 3. Moody's recognizes that the fund balance issue discussed in the report is regulated by the state of New Hampshire. However, in assessing the risk associated with the organization, the amount of surplus or fund balance is an issue to them. We were told that the report that was issued to the Londonderry School District will more likely be a template that would be used for future bond issues to school districts around the state of New Hampshire. And I will tell you, the final report you have in your packet was much toned down from the original report. We made a separate call to Moody's in New York, along with our financial advisors, and that three-way conversation took about an hour, which we objected vehemently to some of the language regarding the fund balance and so forth and so on. In fact, they agreed to tone it down and change some of the wording. Some of the board members expressed concern over the difference between the projected interest rate and the actual rate. As I mentioned, we used our best guess at the time. At one point, at the beginning of the whole process, we had used 4%, and going back and talking to people, they had said, "Wow, at your rate, you could probably you could go down to 3.5. At this time, would be a good number." So, in doing so, we've always used the best numbers we have available at the time. We dropped that interest rate to 3.5 and ran the spreadsheet, the tax impact spreadsheet accordingly. There's been this discussion about how to get the debt service back in line. The debt service is what it is. You can't change the debt service. We've signed the notes. In fact, we've received today the $15 million, $5.1 million, I'm sorry. It looks like, and I don't want to go too far out, but as I mentioned in my memo, the bid tabs for the South School project are coming in lower than what was budgeted by Procon. So, although I don't want to be too optimistic, it looks like there could be some funds available at the end of the project. Again, for full disclosure, the board has two options with leftover funds. It can use it as revenue for subsequent tax rate setting purposes, or it can use the proceeds for another purpose. You can have a warrant article to use leftover proceeds to do project A, B, C, or D. It is difficult to hold on to leftover funds for more than a year or two because of the arbitrage issue. Arbitrage can be, is extremely time-consuming in calculation, and we do not want to even come close to arbitrage issues for this project. I can answer any more questions on the sale of the note, the rating.
Okay, John?
Yeah, here's my concern with this. I am at least one member who submitted questions or concerns about this. I don't know who else might have, but my concern here is that we got approval for this project from the voters, but I think one of the things that we did to get that approval was to present it on a pay-as-you-go kind of way. We talked about what the payments would be per year. We talked about what the impact would be on the tax rate per year. Now, I recognize that the difference between the projected rate and the actual rate is something that, given the current economic climate, I don't believe could have been reasonably foreseen. And I recognize that in terms of dollar value, it's going to be a penny on the tax rate. And we always do the extrapolation from that, and that means it's $2.50, $3 for a average house in Londonderry, and that's a cup of coffee. But Starbucks is closing 600 coffee shops. My concern is that we need to be able to tell the voters that, when we ask you to spend 10 cents per thousand a year to do Project X, that's really what we're going to ask them to ante up. Not, oh, sorry, it's 11. Oh, sorry, it's more than that. We may not have increased the overall price of the project, but we've increased the price out of pocket to the taxpayers. And I think that to keep faith with them, we have to at least discuss whether there are ways that we scale back the project some and take some money and put it aside to pay the difference in the interest rate. Because, while Peter's correct, I think you said 14,000 this year. Next year, I think it's 28, and over the course of the project, it came up to somewhere around 147 or something like that.
228.
228. Okay, I was being optimistic. And that's $250,000 that people are going to have to pay that we didn't tell them they were going to pay, and they didn't necessarily vote to pay.
A couple things. As we went through the public hearing, I believe we did state that the interest rate is what we have best numbers, and it's estimated, and it could change. The
I'm sure you did, and I'm not
Okay.
suggesting there's any ill will or deception.
I believe if the voters, if you read the article, voted and approved the issuance of $5.1 million in bonds and notes for a project, in this case, the South School project. And if you read the article, it says that it allows the school district or the school board to negotiate and to come up with an interest rate to finance such project.
Sure, but I buy a $30,000 car. I don't buy it based on the car costs $30,000. I buy it based on what I'm going to have to pay a month. I think that a lot of that carries forward into a voter's consideration of a warrant article, in that they consider how much they're going to be paying a year, not necessarily what the aggregate to be paid by the town is.
I'm sorry, Bob.
There's, in setting a tax rate, the other factor, unknown factor, and one that no one can really come up, everybody does their best job is what the valuation of the town is. When we gave the figures for tax rate information for the voters, we based that on assessed value of $3,467,800,000. That number came from the town and through the assessor's office in November or October, November. What their best estimate is going to be the valuation of the town this past May. I don't know what that number is yet. They will probably release, I think, the end of August or September, what the assessed value of the town is. If the assessed value of the town is $3,300,000,000, and we lose $167 million in assessment, what they figured, the tax rate's even going to go up higher.
Sure,
because
but
of
I'm
that
still going to have the
miscalculation.
same share of the expense.
Right.
I mean, if the tax base goes down, the rate goes up. If the base goes
right.
up, the rate goes down. But the proportion that I'm paying is still the same.
No, it-
And that's not going to impact how much we're
No, it
paying in
isn't.
interest on a
No, you're-
$15 million bond.
No, your proportion is gonna go up because of the, instead of paying the 7 cents that we said you were gonna pay, this year, if the valuation of the town goes down, that could be 9 cents. So if you got 100, if you go back to the Warren article, a $300,000 house, then you're gonna be paying that much more. on
No,
a
that's not true,
300,000.
because we're still collecting the same amount of interest and principal to pay for the bond. Now, whether that's divided by 3.9 billion or 3.8 billion, it's still the same amount of tax money being levied, and it's going to come from individual payers in the same percentage that they're paying it now.
No, it's gonna be less, you're gonna pay more.
Where's the extra money going to go?
No, it isn't, because what it's saying is, what happens is when the evaluation goes down, now everybody has to contribute 25 cents, a buck or whatever, to pay for that $100 million of the evaluation loss of the estimate.
No.
Yes. Now, the other factor is, hear me out, is the tax rates given for 2010 and 2011 were based on evaluations of $3,469,000. So we all know that next May, the town is going to increase in value, whether it's 60 million or 100 million. So it's not going to be the $30 the 10 cents next year. It's going to be less than that because of the increased value of the town. The third year, it's even going to be less than 10 cents. It'll probably be down around 5 or 6 cents. So if you look at that number over the 3 years, the people will be paying less than what we told them that they would be paying over the 3-year period.
I just don't see how you get there, because I can look at the numbers that we told people we'd be paying in principal and interest next year, and I can look at the numbers that we now know that we're going to be paying in principal and interest next year, and I see an increase. That increase is going to come from the tax base, or from the property owners, whether property taxpayers, whether or not that is increasing as a percentage of your rate or not. We're still talking about more money being spent than we said that we would.
Couple of things, John. On the bond issue, we gave a tax rate.
Yeah.
Okay, we gave the tax rate. And if we go out 2 years, not this year's, but the following year, the tax rate we got, because of the growth and evaluation that we did not take credit for, will be less. The individual taxpayer will pay less, and the year after that, they'll pay even less than that. We don't project what the tax rate, the valuation of the town is going to be. So we take whatever it is for 1 year, we project it out 3 years, and we show what it is.
I understand.
So right now, we've got a bond, well, it's a little higher than that. If we went out and rebid it, if we could, we'd be at the 4.7% mark, which would be significantly higher. I see this conversation, I would suggest, to understand where you're going, is that you take the $14,000, we take the $14,000 out of next year's budget, so that way we don't increase the overall cost to the residents.
Out of this year's budget.
This year's budget, I'm sorry. I forget what year we're in right now. But take it out of this year's budget, and we take the $14,000 out of this year's budget. Next year, the assessed evaluation is going to go up, and the tax rate will be where we told the voters, and we'll be right back on track on that.
But next year, we will have already encumbered more money than the voters thought they were going to be encumbering when they passed the bond.
Then let me ask you a question. What is your solution?
I'm not sure I have a solution. I'm new at this. I'm saying that I think that maybe we need to look at taking some money out of the project and investing it somewhere where it will give us.
Can't
do that.
That's
Why
the
not?
arbitrage thing. If I take money out and I invest it, and I can make more money than the bond cost, I get fined by the IRS on that. and there have been cases in New Hampshire where it
Okay.
happens. I can maybe use some of the money this year to pay for some of the interest this year, maybe next year, but that's it. So those are the only options I have really is I could take it out of this year's budget, I can take the $14,000 out of the project and pay the interest rate on that. But beyond that point, and maybe next year, I can take the delta out for next year. Those are the only
Okay.
years.
Okay,
That's all I can do.
then answer this one, though. What do we say to the voters the next time we try to put a bond out? That this is, that you shouldn't take these yearly rate numbers too seriously?
Every year.
One answer, because that's exactly where my question is. I want to ask this question, and we might need the treasurer. Ron, maybe you can do it with your historical background. Have we ever been in a situation before where we've done a building, and when we've gone out, we've gone to the voters, they've approved it, and when we've gone out for a bond, we ended up getting a better rate than we thought we were going to get?
I think the last two bond issues, we got better rates.
No, North School, we were in the same boat that we are in today.
Okay,
The high school, we had a better rate than we asked.
okay, so North School, we got a higher rate than we
Yes.
thought we were going to get.
Yes.
And the high school, we got a lower rate than we thought we were going to get.
Again, it gets back to,
And Bob, you were here 30 years. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
have we seen that happen from time to time? That we
From
get a
time to
lower
time.
rate, we get a higher rate? Do we ever get the exact rate that we projected?
Oh, because you most of them either 3.5,
And-
3.75, and quarter.
And legally, the way the warrant is written, it's holding us to how much money we will finance.
Right, nothing to do with rates when you vote.
Right.
The rate isn't given in the voting, all it is the tax.
And the state DRE must do that must require us to do that because they know that we will either get a higher or a lower rate.
And then you have the other option, which you do from time to time, which would be the option on this bond, is maybe 5 years from now, rates are low, down 2.5%, 3%. You can refinance, which we have done, and the town does, refinances their bonds. So over the 20-year period, you probably end up paying less than what you originally had paid for.
I mean, to John's feeling on this, what I would support when we get to, as we go through this project, we get towards the end of the project, we aren't spending $10,000 on an extra swing set, or we aren't, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
We look at that this occurrence happened, that we did not get the rate we expected on this, so let's not go spending the money on additional items, but that's just me.
to my knowledge, I'll go back to 90 when I was on the town side. I've never gotten the exact rate. There's too many variables involved, John. You got the economy, you've also got your bond rating, and your bond rating has a huge effect, whether you go up, down, stay the same. Well, even if you stay the same, how is that bond rating, which is a determination of risk, financial risk of the organization, how do you still measure up against other agencies that Moody's is rating in the same? And it also depends on the week.
I understand, and again, I'm not saying that anybody did anything wrong in terms of the interest rate that we got.
Right, I understand.
What I am saying is, I think if I were a voter, I'd have a right to be skeptical the next time somebody tells me something's going to cost me 45 cents on the tax rate, because from what you just said, that's probably the one number it won't come up to.
John, I have the high school bond sheet here, which is the tax impact. For this year, we're going to pay roughly $605,000 on the high school bond this year, net. When we figured the tax rate to the voters, we told them in 2008, July of 2008, that's going to represent 30 cents on the tax rate. using an assessed valuation of $2,016,000,000. Now, the assessed valuation is $3,400,000,000 or whatever. It's, you divide the 3.4 and the 604, you're gonna have a tax rate around 21 cents. It's 9 cents less. So, my point on assessed valuation is, you're gonna pay less than you're gonna pay 9 cents less per thousand than what we told you because of the increase in valuation of the town.
But you are still going to pay, in the case of South School, more than we anticipated you would this year and over the life of the loan, yes. I mean, even if the tax rate goes down next year, I'm still paying the greater amount of P&I for the project. You know, if the town tax base improves to the point where, you know, that isn't visible in my tax rate anymore, the other way of looking at it is, well, my tax rate still would have been a penny less if we had been right.
Well, I think it's one of these things that I for one walk into the voting booth understanding this variance. I understand that number is a judgment by 4 or 5 individuals to sit there and say, listen, based on all the information that we've got right now, I think it's going to be a nickel. And I understand that nickel may be 6 cents. I also understand, God willing, it'd be 4 cents. It doesn't necessarily always come out to be the 4 cents as we like it to. And I think one of the things that we can do is to look as we get towards the end of that project and see where the dollars are, to how we, go about and grab into that. I think
We've done that on North School.
Yeah, I think we've done that.
North
Certainly on
School, we
North
gave
School
back
since
to
I've been
voters
here.
$112,000.
I think we actually moved, didn't we take that off of the following bond or something,
No,
right?
no, what we
Some
did is
we
we had to,
moved, some
we had to
moved
take.
some of it,
We
right.
had to move it, we had to give it back to the voters. We couldn't move it because of the cost. And
Oh,
all
right,
that.
yeah.
So that's what
But-
we'd
I
be
think
looking at doing at the.
if you look at the variability, I think just looking at that one sheet that I think Peter provided to you, and I don't know if you have that at your
Yep.
desks, but on one day, with all of the investors in the country that had a choice of investing in us, we did have this group that you see here of 6 investors that, from around the country, that chose. And just within that group of 6, the variability is 20%. So to have, have thought we would have been at 4% as we started working our numbers and ending up at 4.09, not so bad.
No, not saying it's bad at all. What I am saying is, what's the takeaway to the voter for the next time? And I guess I'm hearing that the takeaway is, don't count too much on this figure being accurate. Let me rephrase that. Don't count too much on this figure being dead on. Perfect.
Maybe dead on perfect versus the word accurate.
Yeah, that's why I rephrased it.
Pejorative. I think the other side of that coin, and I think there are probably some instances preceding me when Bob was on the board, but I think the most recent occurrence was when Ron and I were on the board when we did a sweep of all of our outstanding debt 8 years ago now.
8 years ago when.
And refinanced all of our outstanding debt to the tune of several $100,000 in savings. So I mean, I think there are ups and there are downs, and I think to the community, the board has a very good track record of being responsible. And I, in my current role as the treasurer, I'm simply counting the beans. You're taking the actions on what beans you want me to count. But I think the board has good credibility, and to your point, maybe the word "dead on" is a fair word.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the interest rate of 4.09% for a 20-year bond for the South School construction and renovation project and the additional dollars be taken out of the budget.
A motion?
Second.
A motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Peter,
Question for them.
for the finance guys, sure.
So we tore the building down. It was like in a big pile, and then they put it into recycle bins and took parts away. When do the wheeled classrooms show up?
They're down there now, some of them, they're starting to show up already, so, they'll be up when school starts.
Ready for school.
And,
Ready?
and the project's going very well, and, I'm sure there'll be money coming back. How much money, I wouldn't even want to venture a guess this early in the project, but then that's your decision what you want to do with that.
My
As
question was
always,
more
it's,
of things are happening down there. and-
Going on, yeah.
Yes.
And we're
I'll
getting
tell you
ready.
one interesting thing, though.
You ought to
When they
get your
built-
bond before you tear down the
When
building.
they built these portables in '88, they just dug a hole, a trench, and they stuck some steel in it and poured concrete. And if you were down there a week ago, you'd see big piles of concrete. Concrete was cheap then in '88.
So they were trying to use it as a footer, or?
But it cost us a little bit of money to dispose of it. But anyways, it's going very, very well. The contractors are doing well. The weather's broke this week, and inside this building is just amazing.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, John. Peter?
First close, I'll be brief, I'm running late. Overall, and as I mentioned in third quarter, overall, I still believe that the district, at the end of when we close the FY08 year, will have $500,000 net to be used as revenue for the FY09 tax rate. As I mentioned in my memo, going back to the third quarter, there were two operating revenues that came in below what we expected. One significantly, that was Medicaid. We had mentioned back in third quarter that although we were running somewhere about 90,000, at that time to be collected to get the budget, history tells us that we got a fair amount of checks in the months of May and June to get to that number. This year, we don't know why. We got very little. I don't want to say any, if any, but very little, and therefore is the reason for the significant difference in what we expected to get from Medicaid and what we're actually going to receive. And the other one is interest on investments. We've told the board all along that we knew we were going to be short on this because of the declining interest rates throughout the year, and what we used 18 months ago now to project what we thought interest on investment would be. We told you in third quarter we'd be 100 under budget, and we're probably going to come in about 125, maybe 120. We haven't calculated all the interest for June yet. The bank statement just came in. Those were the two revenue accounts that were any significant difference to what was told at third quarter. As usual, on table one, I give the board a table that shows the non-operating revenues. What we did this year, we kind of gave you this year and then prior 2 years to kind of show you the history or trend of the accounts. The one that we use to offset the tax rate on an annual basis is impact fees. As you know, for the past 2 years, we've used $350. And as we've mentioned, the impact fees being collected are not keeping up with what's being used. I do believe for FY09, we will have $300,000 to use. That number may have to be adjusted as we talk about the FY 2010 budget, which starts in a few months. On the expenditure side, as we mentioned in third quarter, the two sources of accounts for savings to budget were the salary accounts in general, and believe it or not, the energy accounts. That may change as we're here next year, but those two accounts, especially the electricity, provided the majority of the savings that some of the accounts that went over budget would be used to net out the expected return of about $650,000, I believe, to budget. The two accounts that I mentioned that went over, and we've mentioned this in third quarter, transportation as a whole, as a district-wide account, the regular ed, transportation, sped, and athletics, and we talked about that at third quarter, and the district-wide construction services, and refresh the board's memory, the majority of that was the use of funds for the roofing, emergency roof project at South School.
Okay, questions, John?
I wasn't here, or certainly not understanding things at the end of third quarter. Could you recap what the issue with the transportation was?
Yeah, there's three transportation, regular ed,
Yeah.
Special education and athletics. Regular education, the reason why that account ran over was we had to put on additional runs to the vocational centers to do the enrollment projections. SPED is additional runs as students are placed out of district, but also with special education, when we do the budget, there's a lot of transportation sharing that goes on with special education students out of district. For example, if we're sending a kid to the Carroll School in Derry the provider can pick up the Derry student and the Londonderry student, and the cost gets shared. But from time to time, the Derry student may not go there anymore, so now only we send a student there, so we pick up the full cost. And that could happen anytime during the year. When we do the budget, it's being shared, and then, they make changes.
So this wasn't a cost of energy impact?
No. And athletics is just simply the amount of runs between tournaments, playoff games, or whatever, that got us to the point where we went over slightly on the transportation account for athletics. I think that was the first time since I've been here that that's ever been an issue.
Thank you.
Anything else, Steve? Thanks, Peter. And before we move on, Ron had one other item in the...
Yeah, Bob's here, but Bob had come before the board about some work that was being done over at the high school. And I want to report, that was all donation work behind the high school, behind the gymnasium, and that work has been complete to a rough grade that he expected to do. Also, 4 organizations, the Dugout Club, lacrosse, soccer, and football got together. There was $1,000 that we threw in to levelize the field that we call Lincoln Field there. There was piles of dirt there. So the organizations put that to level that land over there also in the Bob's direction. So we got both of those projects done with all donations. Just to bring
Thank
the
you
board
to
up
the
to date with
donors.
that.
Outstanding. Thank you very much to the donors. This town wouldn't be what it was.
And Bob?
It is. Mr. Lincoln is a fixture, except now when he goes to Florida.
Well, there's some high school down there that has really primo facilities now.
Mr. Chairman, I move into non-public session under RSA 91A3, Section 2, A through F.
Motion for non-public, second.
Second.
Roll call.
I, Ron Campo.
Al
Board
Robinson.
Chairman.
Nate, thanks.
Remember, if you're in this room, you're on the air.
The planning board doesn't
Thank you very much.
Thank you.